let's think about this. Communication.
Literacy means you really understand
that as a placeholder in the template as well, just so that
stressful for the team to take on. All right, at the end of the day, AI is worthless. Across the company, I think there's a depth.
George, we're together, man.
Back again.
We're here for summer school. So glad to see all of you and looking forward to year seven.
Year seven.
Goodness gracious.
Year seven, more gray hairs.
Speak for yourself now. Goodness. Hey, so glad that you're all here with us. We have a great audience here live with us in Nashville. We're so excited to be interacting with them today during the events. We're excited to see all of you out there. I was watching George 10 minutes before we started the stream. We have people already chiming in saying like, first one in. So we'll have to go back and give some kudos to the people that were here as the pre-party for the session. Anyone who was here in person saw me doing the runaround chicken with his head cut off, trying to make sure all the things were just smooth and ready to go. So we're excited to be here with all of you, looking forward to the excitement, the joy, the community building that is summer school, and we're gonna have some fun. I'm so excited.
Zero fun, sir.
Zero fun. Okay.
So I just watched one of my favorite movies. I had to go back and flashback. One of my favorite movies, as many people know, is Remember the Titans.
Okay.
And we have basketball, year-round basketball in Indiana because that's where basketball lives.
Remember the Titans was not basketball, George.
It was football. You're correct.
Okay.
But a lot of leadership aspects come from that movie. Attitude reflects leadership, right? And so there was a lot of great things that come from the movie, and I had to remember that. But zero fun, sir. He wanted them to be really serious. So we got to be serious on the job because my ADHD TV kicks in. High quality, high definition.
Okay, I'm going to let you sit with that one for just a minute while we go on with some announcements and things to get all of you plugged in for the day. So here we go. You're going to we just pop that full screen for me, George.
Boom.
All right. So a couple things that we want to go through today. First off, we're going to start off by, as we always do, thank you to all of you who are here, who signed up, who took the time to connect in today or to show up here in person. It's so fun to see all of you. We also want to say thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to the companies that help to make this possible. Hi Bob has been a partner for years. iSolve's been a partner for years. You're going to hear from some of their leaders this week about some of the things that they're working on. The team at Bucket List, you had a great session with Bucket List around recognition. Our friends at Cornerstone, all around learning and how people build their best possible skill set at work. Team and Employ and Verified First, both of them in the talent acquisition space. So for all of you that are struggling to hire the right person, filter through all those candidates, what about all that wacky AI stuff? Yes, they're helping companies solve those sorts of things. And our friends at Take Command, we'll hear from Jack today, all around benefits and how he can help employees with some of the risks, the challenges, the fears they have around that. So thank you to our sponsors. You can kick on to the next one if you don't mind, George. There we go. All right. So housekeeping. If you've been on any event with us ever, we never changed this slide. It's the easiest one in our deck to keep similar. So number one, if you want to get any of the giveaways, we have a bunch of stuff to give away. I have a big stack of books here for people in person. We have shirts and other things we'll be giving away online throughout this week. If you want to win those, you have to be signed up. If you're not signed up, you found this stream. If you're finding this on demand later, it doesn't matter. hrsummerschool.org, the link at the bottom of your screen is how you register for the event. Once you're registered, get in the chat, get in the comments, be engaged, be helpful, share the things you're learning, share the challenges you have. And we are looking for those comments as we go through to grab many of you, not just some of you, but many of you to receive prizes and things just for being part of the community, for being engaged here today. So we'll be giving away a bunch of stuff. George's favorite thing to do, spiritual gift, is giving away stuff that's been purchased. So there we go. All right. And then next up, hold on, George. Slow down, buddy.
Sorry.
Goodness.
Trigger fingers.
Goodness. Okay. Slow down. SHRM credits, HRCI credits. Someone is going to email me today at 12:30 Central Time and say, where are my credits? And you will not get your credits until the event is done. So 3 days, 2.5 hours a day. Even I can do that math, 7.5 hours. That's what you're going to get. SHRM credits, HRCI credits, they're all free. And it'll come Thursday after the event is done with. Again, you're watching this on demand, watch all the days. Don't be a cheater. We see you. All right. And then lastly, this is the live stream. Times are approximates. I have no clue what this guy's going to say or how long he's going to take to say it. And so it really creates some interesting fun where I'm trying to shoehorn everything back in and make the agenda fit together. So I kind of picked on you a whole lot there, George.
It's fun. It happens.
So, okay. All right. Anything else before we move on?
I just like the next slide. It's my favorite slide.
Okay.
Can I go back to it?
You can go back to it.
Listen, one of the things I'm really excited about and what makes HR Summer School so exciting is, as you can see the comments, we're over 300 comments already within the first 5 minutes or so. Keep the comments going. We love to see those things. One of my favorite things is the post after the event, the captures, a few years, and we got some of the people that draw the doodles and draw out their notes for this. So we love hearing those things, sometimes because we're behind the stage once it's live and we may miss something. And so you never know what's going on. As you, over 3,000 people are joining us right now live and registered for this event. We are excited about those things, and different perspectives really matter as well, Ben. And, one thing that you can think about is something different for me as well. And we have two different type of roads and journeys that we're going on. So we love the comments, but also make sure you're sharing this on your live stream and sharing your after notes. #HR Summer School.
Yeah, that's good. Don't skip over that part. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, please reshare the feed so that it goes out to people that you're connected to, just so that we're making sure that we're here to lift everybody up. You know this. And if this is your first time here, by the way, I skipped over that. This is your freshman year. Go ahead and chat that out so everybody can see.
Welcome
we'll
to
give
the
you
freshman.
That's
we should do a virtual freshman
orientation.
Like a virtual elbow or something. Locker? No. Continue.
By the way, so far, the person that's winning with posts about summer school, did you see the one I forwarded you this morning? Bobby Joe Cox posted a great one showing her 5 minutes in, I have 47 new things to do. This is so great. And I have 20 new friends and it's the best. So that's what you can expect out of this. And we're so excited and so grateful for that kind of thing too. I'm learning too as we go. All right. Next up on our slides. Shirts. We're wearing our funky shirts. We love them. George and
Mine's
our
is clean.
team.
I don't know about you. It's not funky though. Yeah.
Give it an hour and then we'll see. George and the team put these together this year. They designed these great shirts. And the hardest part about it, honestly, is that you can see people trying to read it. And I've had people hold on a second, I'm not done. There's a lot on here to see. But at the bottom, my favorite part is caution may show empathy. That's probably my favorite part of the whole shirt. So you can get the shirt, scan that QR, go to the website. Those are all available. And again, we'll be giving some of those out as we go through the week. But if you want to be sure you get your own, I already see Jeff wearing his in the room. He's if Josh is our mascot, I don't know what to figure out something for Jeff.
He's from the University of Wisconsin. And so, he can be a dean by now.
Okay.
The dean of students.
Dean Jeff, we got it. All right.
Got to do the after graduates as well. For those people who do not know, we're live again, not just together, but we actually have an audience behind the screen. And so if y'all could real quickly, they can't see y'all, but can they hear y'all back there? Everybody make some noise. So we got a great audience that's joining us once again this year, and very excited to be able to see some of our friends in person.
Yes, so thrilled. Really quickly on this one.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, 2 years, 2 years now, we're running a little year and a half that we launched. Everybody was wanting more HR Summer School, and we kind of tug of war with it a lot because this is something that's been so meaningful and special. We didn't want to run it down. But what we ended up doing, we partnered with great local chapters and also state chapters. So we want to shout out Nora. We want to shout out North Dakota. We want to shout out Mississippi. And then we got some individual, I call them champions, but partners as well. Miss Terry all the way in Asheville, North Carolina, her HR team. Amy Sims is a part of that as well. And then we have Claire, one of our I believe she's been through all 7 years. Clara has maybe 6.
She's been a speaker.
Been a speaker as well. And then also shout out to Miss Kelly Varner. So lovely individuals that's this partner there. HR Summer School lunch break. We go live every second Thursday of the month. Incredible speaker lineups. We're excited about this one coming up. One of your great friends. We'll talk about it later.
Okay, which great friend? I got
onboarding.
I got a couple great friends.
The queen of onboarding.
Queen of onboarding
is joining us, and so we're excited about that.
All right, good stuff. So one thing we do every year, George started this tradition in 2021, showed up at my house unannounced. Once we made sure it was all.
Put your address in the chat.
Yeah. Wouldn't you want to see this face showing up at your doorstep? So George shows up, surprises me with a pair of shoes as a gift because tell the story behind this, I guess.
I think it really demonstrates what HR Summer School was all about.
Yeah.
First year that we met during the P word in 2020 and or the C word, whichever you call it. I just don't like to say the name anymore. But one of the things that I really connected with you outside of knowing your family, we never met each other. We lived in the same town for 2 years. And one of the things that really impacted my life about HR Summer School was just really the heart behind it. This year, our theme is the future work is human. And that really represents those things. And so as we talked for over a year and we talked about HR Summer School year number 2, what I really saw from you, and I'm new to the HR, I always tell people I am the reason why there is HR in companies because I was that employee at one point. But that's really the heart. And so this shoe this year, the winner's going to get this nice, lovely custom shoe. We rebranded and everything now with our Lighthouse. We rebranded. So we used to have green shoes and everything. This year, the first ever fully Lighthouse with the HR Summer School 26 on the tongue is going to be a lucky winner. So we're going to announce that this week as well. And so excited about this. Somebody who represents community that's really bringing impact value into the HR Summer School community, but also into the HR field itself. And so really excited about that.
Yes. Okay. All right. We have 2 last things.
Couple of last things. Yes.
Last thing. Okay. A lot of announcements day one.
A lot of announcements day one. Listen, anybody going to SHRM? This will be our 3rd year doing this and partner up at SHRM. We're going to partner up with High Bob this year. So meet me at High Bob. You're going to be at SHRM in 2 weeks. I'll be at the High Bob booth 2927. But you'll want to scan the QR code right now if you want to meet up with me and get a secret location for something that we're doing for a few small people. And so it's first come, first serve. Make sure you get the QR code and maybe I have something up my sleeves for a Wednesday night festivities, and High Bob is even going to take care of your Uber fees up to $50, and so that's nice of them to get you there and back to wherever you may need to be or your next stop if you're at SHRM. You know what I mean? After all those great things, but Christina Aguilera is going to be there speaking Tuesday night or singing. John Maxwell is going to be there. Oprah Winfrey is going to be there. Simon Sinek is going to be there. And then George Rogers.
Most importantly, right? George Rogers is going to be there.
He's going to be there. But all our Bob friends is going to be there at the booth. We'll love to see you visit the booth. I'm going to be doing some Man on the Street videos. We'll love to sit down and chat with you all things the future of work. So that's exciting. That's exciting. You ready? This is the juice now. I'm ready for this.
All right. We have covered all the things we have to cover. We're ready to jump into the content, and we're only 2 minutes behind. I mean, again, live stream timing's approximate. Okay. So our first session today, we're going to be talking with George. We'll be talking with Rod McDaniel about how humans can do their best work. George and Rod go way back. I'll let y'all connect on that bit. The fun thing that I've learned about Rod this morning is that he and I both met George the same way. We saw him speak and said, I've got to know him. And so that's how George got connected into this all those years ago. And so it's been fun to see that connection blossom over time. And you're almost a friend. I mean, you're this close, George, to being a friend.
Gotta be careful.
Keep it up.
That word is.
Keep it up, and you'll be there. You'll be there pretty soon.
Start spending the night at the house.
Oh, goodness. All right. So we're going to hear from Rod. We have Amy from iSolve. Everyone loves Amy coming back every year, and she's going to be talking about some new data that her team's collected around why employees are leaving, and it's something that's going to surprise you. Some of the data around that, and we'll get into some of the things we can do about it. Most importantly, we're here about practical stuff. Next up, we'll talk with Lance Sapera. Lance and I, again, good friend, someone I saw speak and said, I've got to know that guy. And so great person, but also brilliant around hiring, very thoughtful about how he thinks about how we can treat people with respect in the hiring process. Then after that, going into Angela, who I'm going to go meet as soon as I get a break here. I'm going to go meet Angela because she is going to be here talking about the human side of leadership. Take a break, give some stuff away, give her a quick bio break, and then come back for our last sessions of the day. So we'll hold those bits on the agenda until then. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump out of the seat, get out of the way, and let George bring Rod in for the conversation. All right.
Do we get an applause? Do we get a live attendance applause? Come on in. And so as Rod is joining us, one of the things that I really appreciate about Rod is that when I met him, he was very tall. He was not. But many people know that I have a fear. I have a phobia of midgets. And,
sit on some books.
Sit on some books. Just sit on the shoebox here. And so me and Rod, whenever I debated whether or not we should do this session together because this is our conversation. We have a great time. So I literally just want to have a conversation with you about what really impacted me when we met at a conference, and it was our first conference all the way in New Orleans. We won't talk about that one. That was the first one you heard me speak. Like Ben, they both wanted me to come back because they didn't understand what I was saying. So I've since then learned to enunciate my words and slow down, as you can tell today. But about 5 years ago, we connected in another conference, and I was living in Alpharetta, Georgia, and he was like, I want you to come to Nashville. And I thought maybe like every other week he's going to fly me down or drive over. And he said, nah, you're going to come here. And sure enough, a big old truck, his company truck comes, and they load up my house in Alpharetta and brought me here to Nashville, Tennessee. And I was forever grateful for that. When we talk about leadership and the human word and really how the best leaders, and I'm thinking about S3 and the culture that they have, one of the things that I saw that was evident that you were the leader, and as I mentioned earlier, attitude reflects leadership, was I saw purpose in a lot of the employees. And if you are familiar with those things, we had a lot of second chance. We had some employees that were coming from staffing agency, coming from all shapes and sizes of the world. But I saw purpose and clarity so much. And a lot of that is because of relationships, but also with leadership. I want you to introduce yourself real quickly first, and I'm just going to jump back into this conversation, but I want to open up with that. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your name, your mama name.
My mama name.
And what you do.
Wait a minute, so I walk-up music? What's
do a little dance. Make a little. Don't you?
I thought it was going to be some short.
Oh,
something about being short.
Don't want no short, man. Don't you?
Y'all invited the wrong CEO here because I'm an HR nightmare. My HR department doesn't even want me to talk. My name is Rod McDaniel. I am the CEO of S3 Recycling Solutions. S3 is a IT recycling company, so we help organizations recycle their end-of-life IT equipment. So if, I know this is not what we're supposed to do, but I'm here. If you've got some IT equipment out there that you need recycled, yes, this is a commercial. I'm here. Reach out, s3rs.com.
Yeah, look at that.
Come on.
You look like a billboard.
Come on.
He's Nashville's Mr. CEO Award. Rob, finish this sentence for me. Ever since we talked about our theme for this year, the future of work is human when?
Man, the future of work is human when you love people.
Love that. Talk a little bit. I mentioned purpose and I mentioned clarity. And I want to dive into those things. For you, what role? We talk about having the right people on the bus. What role, though, does purpose and clarity play in regards to driving engagement? One of the things I loved about the culture at S3 was the engagement. Doesn't matter if you're in the office area, if you're in the frontline area, if you're in the data destruction, the warehouse, there was always that engagement. Performance was crucial in those businesses where the number one rule of business is to stay in business. And so performance is huge, but the long-term fulfillment of work as well. And I'm thinking about some of those people who have not just showed up, but they've stayed and been connected. What does purpose and clarity do for a company, and why is that important to have in your organization?
I think it goes back to the first question you asked about, like what makes workplace human. And I think you can't have purpose and clarity without loving people. And so I know it's probably a controversial word, but how can you really bring the best out of somebody if you don't love them?
Yeah.
And they don't feel it. And so I call our team the misfits. So like including myself, we are all people that probably on paper don't qualify for the roles that we're in, but we have built a company over the last 10 years that's had almost 4,000 revenue percent growth. We've won Best Places to Work so many times. And I think it's just because you put people in the right place and you show that you care. And I think that gives people purpose. Nobody really cares about that revenue growth or any of that, but what they care about is being a part of something that they see themselves in. And I think leaders, we need to do a better job at showing people that.
Yeah. One of the things that impacted me, and I still love it, and we used to still huddle on Thursdays.
Still huddle on Thursday, bigger.
And yeah, it's definitely
multi-site.
And so now it's gone from Nashville, Tennessee to now you also have a California location, and you have growth there. But every Thursday, every employee business stops for a minimum of 15, 20 minutes, and it's not just updates; it's a check-in. Where people can check in and talk about the core values, or hey, I recognize that Maria, lived up to the core value, and you talk about those things. You talk about the future business. You talk about why business is struggling and what we as a team have to do about it. And it's not just behind closed doors where it's just you, the CFO, and your C-suite team. This is evident around everything. The most impactful thing, though, is how you end it. And I use this in my basketball team, especially when we're down. And at the end of every huddle, we end it in unison by saying,
nothing shall be impossible.
Why is that so important to you? Because that's the culture of your business. No matter, there's a lot of bad days. There are some days where we think about whether or not we need to drive Uber in Nashville. Right? There's been some struggles in the business because business isn't perfect. Mm-hmm. What has that phrase meant, not just for the company, but why is it important for you to actually live that? And how has it brought your culture and employees to believe that no matter what we're facing, we can turn this thing around as a team in the organization?
Well, I'll share a couple things with you. So if I told you that a little boy from the housing projects with a teenage mom, she had a 6th grade education herself, he only has a high school diploma, is running a company with nearly 100 people that's reaching Fortune 500 corporations. And we've, since 2016, we've donated 10,000 devices. You probably would say that seems maybe impossible, like it improbable, probably. But that person is me. And so I believe that nothing shall be impossible. And that is derived from Luke 1:37 from the Bible, for with God, nothing shall be impossible.
Yeah. And so for employees to really embody that, I think it first starts with leadership, right? Everything has to start with leadership. How can leaders, talking to the hundreds and thousands of people that are watching us, what is something that you can give to them and share with them that can help leaders better connect with employees? Because I think that's one of the things, like what people are seeing now, even in this conversation as we're laughing, right? This is Rod with the worst employee and Rod with the best employee, right? I don't think anybody knows when Rod is mad. And if you do, you had to do a darn lot to get him there, because it's like it's not too big. Nothing should be impossible. How do we walk through this and grow through this? What can give the leaders from a day-to-day standpoint on how to connect with their employees, whether it be with responsibilities to a larger mission or impact, or even something small? How do you connect?
Well, it's funny. I was talking to Chastity earlier, and she has this book. It says, "Be yourself at work," and I like that, actually. And
Claude Silver.
Yeah, I've seen that, and so I say, be yourself unless yourself sucks.
Keeping it real, 2026.
I told you I was an HR nightmare. So I think it just starts with being your authentic self. And for me, it's easier for me to connect with a frontline worker because I grew up in poverty. My mom was a retail worker. My uncle was a custodian, and my grandmother worked in the cafeteria. So like most of our employees are manufacturing employees, and so I get them. Like I understand the struggle. And so I think showing up and being your authentic self, and people get to see like, man, this guy's an actual human being. And I think sometimes leaders, we have this shield up where we show people that, or people seem to think of us as Superman or Superwoman, and we're really just human. Like I have my problems just like they have their problems. And so I think being authentic about that and just being truthful, I think that's what those huddles are for.
Yeah.
I don't run away from feedback. So like an employee can literally come up to the mic and ask a question, and I'm going to answer it in front of everybody. And that, I think, just being authentic. Like, and if I don't know the answer, guess what I'm going to say? I don't know the answer. And I'll get back to you.
It's not what they say, but it's how they say it.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about. I want to get personal. The reason why I had a last minute change, Ben was supposed to be sitting down here, but as I was driving here in Nashville, I was reflecting on the day you fired me, and I've always wanted to say that he didn't fire me. Don't worry. No, I probably one or too many times, and then he saw himself in me. But I want to reflect because I've never shared this, and I'm gonna try not to cry because real men cry, and I ain't there yet. I ain't real men yet. It's reverse psychology, ladies and gentlemen. But I remember coming yourself, the late Daryl Freeman, Greg, and Stacy. Shout out to Stacy, coming out of the boardroom and having a meeting, and a few minutes later, you came to my office. I'm like, oh, crap. And you sat down right across from me at the desk. And I just, the day before, had a live stream, a webinar, I believe, with Ben. Ben got me in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. And you said, George, you're so passionate about what you do and speaking. Why aren't you doing this full time? And I was like, well, that's weird. What is he trying to say? And we went down the roller coaster from there in a conversation. And what Rod doesn't know is that I was fighting the same battle of making the decision to leave what I thought was my dream, right, of speaking and traveling and impacting lives, to fully not rob the business, and because I knew I can give more to S3. And I literally had this conversation weeks with my wife, right? And so you deserve to know this story. And Rod said, George, I believe in you and I want you to do it. He said, let's come back in a week or two when you're ready. And we put it on the calendar. And 2 weeks later, I was like, I know what I was supposed to do. And that was a start of, while I'm still here now with Ben and part of the Lighthouse and there. But I want to ask you this question, and I'm going to wrap it up with what I want to share. But I want to first say thank you for pushing me. Thank you for releasing me. Because oftentimes as leaders, we find something that may be good for our company, and we try to hold on to people. And we're living in a world now where we have job huggers, where we're hugging onto jobs that we really don't want because we're afraid of what may or may not be on the other side of opportunities. And so people are hugging onto their jobs when they're dealing with bad cultures and bad leadership. And it's not about the money, right? It's just about the unknown and uncertainty. And for me, that was a battle of like, what's next and uncertainty, and how can I provide? And this man, I won't talk in details, but this man did something for me that nobody else has ever done, and provided for me and my family, and would not allow me to work. He sent me home and told me when I was ready to bring the business plan, and he'll be my first client, and pushed me out into what I love with leadership development there. Why does Rod not hold on to good talent and is willing to release them?
That wasn't a part of the interview.
I know.
Oh man, I hate you. Okay. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. I have seen time and time again leaders come in at S3 and go on to do amazing things. And it's not my job as a leader to hog them. I think that's a good way of saying that. We are there to help propel them to whatever's next. That's what we're there for. And sometimes next is not with us. But I get a real satisfaction of seeing people win.
Yeah.
I really like to see people win. And so, man, like, who doesn't want to be a part of, like, from the sidelines, seeing George doing what he's doing, and knowing that you had a little small part in that. Like, that should get you excited about work.
Yeah.
Not the money, not the paycheck, not the revenue growth, not the awards. It's the impact that you have on people.
Yeah.
That matters.
Appreciate that. If you can give one last word to the audience as a takeaway today, whether it's in regard to the HR profession, leadership, culture, nothing should be impossible. What's one last word that you'll give to the audience today to encourage them as they finish 2026 strong?
You know, that word "human" is plastered all over this conference, and so I think it's important not to just think of the word human. Let's just be human. Let people see you be human. Make a joke, like, show up to a kid's game. Like, do something that's not, we'd call it business, but let's just do something that's not typical. Show up and be human.
Yeah, appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Rob McDaniel one more time. Let's see those hearts in the chat. Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks so much. We're going to have President Ben, joining us back here.
President. Well, it's
Principal. I think
I got promoted to
we're in like college stages now, so you got to have a president.
president.
Yeah.
That's a weird title these days. All right. Hey, everybody. That was fun.
Yeah, well,
I'm still a little bit bitter that you didn't let me interview Rod, but that was such a great story. I think I'll let it pass. So many good comments and things. George didn't get to see the comments because he was having a conversation, but so many good comments in the audience during that one. My favorite may have been Josh Rock that said we all wanted to fire George at least once. But there were some, in all seriousness, several people in the audience loved you know what? We have people like that we interact with. And our most important thing we have to do is not just show up as someone wearing an HR title, but as a human first. I care about you and who you are and what you bring. And that's where that story, that's what I got from that, right?
Yeah.
He saw you and what was going to make your heart bloom, right? Or whatever the word is there. Like it was going to make you go in a place where you were made to go.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. That's incredible.
we can change the subject now because I'm trying to hold back my tears.
My hope.
How can such a short man make a big impact, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, hey, listen, you see that? George made me cry. That's why. So there we go. So
that is great.
All right. So our next conversation is going to be with Amy Mosher, and it was wild. You mentioned job hugging as part of that because she and I talk about some new data they have around employer retention, some of the challenges that employers have, and how one of the things we've used in the past as our indicator for what's going to happen with turnover is now no good anymore. So we're going to dive into that conversation with Amy and see what she has to say. Welcome to, I'm trying to think of a great name for you, Amy, like the legend of summer school or something amazing in all capital letters. Everybody, I'm so excited to be joined by Amy Mosher. She is the Chief People Officer over at iSolved. They have been a supporter and partner on this event for years. And Amy has been not just that, but a friend. And so excited that she's here with us. We're going to talk about some of the new research their team has been doing, looking at some trends around work, our retention, what we can do about that. And Amy, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to spend time with you, Ben.
I mean, it's a joy. I get to, my goal all the time, make you laugh, which is easy. You and I both have that personality, or we're ready to at any time. So that's one of my goals every time, though. Let's have a good, fun memory to call back on. So before I attempt that, would you take a minute and tell the audience more about who you are and what you do, please?
Sure. I am the Chief People Officer. I live in my dream job here at iSolved. We are an HR solution business. So not just the technology, but the services, everything all in one. It's my pleasure to be the head of human resources at a company that offers these types of solutions to our clients. I get to wear many, many hats as a result and work on a lot of go-to-market work and a lot of product work that a lot of other CHROs and CPOs do not have an opportunity to do. I've been in the industry for 30 years. I'm going to date myself right now. And had the opportunity to work in so many different HR disciplines that I feel, privileged to be at this point in my career and have the unique pleasure to work with individuals like yourself and the employees that I have here. About 3,000 employees right now, and growing very rapidly every day. So exciting stuff happening over here.
Tremendous. Awesome. It's every time I get a chat with you too, I'm like, update on the growth there. So that's really cool. Again, that's both amazing and also that's one of the challenges that you live with as a HR leader. So you're living it out every day. By the way, for everybody out there listening, if you enjoy the conversation, when you enjoy the conversation with Amy I'm about to have, you can actually go back to each summer school for the last couple of years and you can see these conversations, how they've evolved. We've talked about everything from aligning with leadership. We've talked about how do you grow HR as a business grows, a little bit of everything we've covered under the sun, and again, some fun things in there that I always learn something, always walk away with a good takeaway in that. So today, Amy, I'm actually going to grill you just a little bit. So I got a preview of some of the research that the team was doing recently, their Voice of the Workforce research. And one of the things in there that was super intriguing is this weird paradox that's happening right now around retention. I would love for you to unpack that for us and help us understand what's happening there, because I think these leaders that are listening today probably are seeing some of these things. They may not have a way to put words to it. So help us out.
Yeah, I feel like the simplest way to put this from a retention perspective is to say that today, what we're finding when we're asking our clients and their employees and HR leaders as well, satisfaction and commitment are no longer the same thing from a retention perspective. We found that 90% of employees report being happy at work, but 58% of them are still planning to find a new job in the new year. So it's really a disparate metric these days. And so the main takeaway, I think, for me and for us is that HR has been measuring retention, but satisfaction, right, which is what we usually use to measure, is how someone feels today. It doesn't necessarily give you the information that you need in order to assess whether they're going to stay in the near or longer term future. So there's a lot of work yet to do there.
So this actually, when I saw this stat, it mirrors one of the things we found. We looked at our year over year data from 2 years ago, and then just the very beginning of this year. And what we found was the number of people who said that they were like not sure about their future with their employer crept up like double almost in that year. And yet right now retention looks pretty good for some companies, right? They're not losing people as quickly, and they're like, we're doing a good job. Like, they just don't think there's an opportunity yet. When they see the opportunity, they're going to go for it. That's what the data tell us always happens with the job market when it shifts there. So right now they may be sticking around, they may be satisfied, as you said, but when they feel like it turns around, that's probably the first moment they're going to start looking and really exploring what other opportunities they can step into.
Yeah, it's not a dissatisfaction problem anymore. It's that stagnation fatigue problem that you end up with when you have a lot of people that you maybe would have attrited previously in a different kind of market today who are staying maybe for the wrong reasons. And then you've got those who are still looking for higher pay. That pay gap is still happening. But that everyday friction it's quietly doing more damage than I think HR teams realize.
So if we're in a world, if I got you right, you said satisfaction and commitment are not the same thing. Is that correct? You got that earlier, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if that is the case, do we as employers from a practical sense need to be asking different questions? Should we be thinking about retention differently? Should we be saying, okay, they may be happy at the moment, but that could, they may still be looking for other things. What can we do to still keep them and not use that as our only metric? Help me understand what we should do with that information instead of just saying, interesting. Crap. There's nothing like we're stuck. It's like, what sort of opportunities do we have to actually make change?
Yeah. Well, engagement takes on a totally different meaning, right? And it isn't about how necessarily what you're giving them today. It's what you're giving them from a future perspective. So you really have to think about asking different kinds of questions when you're surveying employees about engagement and their willingness to stay. And you also want to make sure that you're providing a level of clarity and communication about what the future brings. 25% of employees feel like their employer communicates clearly with them. That's not a very high number. 27% are saying unclear communication makes them want to leave. 40% are saying it creates a negative employee experience. Just let's think about this. Communication. How can you project a bright future at the individual level and the corporate level? And how can you measure the effectiveness of your communication across your organization? That would be probably the leading change in factors or metrics that I might encourage HR individuals to focus on as they try to change this kind of this behavior.
Okay. I'm thinking about that. This sort of communication theme has come up in a couple of different conversations around summer school. And you have no idea what our other speakers are talking about, but that's come up a couple of times in this as a theme. And what gets me is, if you ask any of us, any person in the audience right now, if you hear my voice and I said, hey, are communication skills important? Is it good to communicate with your people? All of us would say yes, absolutely. But then in our head, we're picturing what communication looks like as good to us, right? Well, this would be enough for me. But for our employees, it may be a very different threshold.
Yes.
And I think that's part of what I'm hearing from you, Amy, is like they are expecting something from us. And in the absence of communication, they assume the worst. They assume that I'm always going to be stuck in this job. It's never
Yes.
going to have a progression. There's never going to be an advancement. It's just going to be the same thing a year from now, 5 years from now. And why would I stay in this?
Yes, I think I totally agree with you. There's a couple stats that the survey pointed out that were really, really telling on this. One was that 56% of employees said that clearer career paths would increase their confidence in the future and would increase retention. 44% said that just making clear the expectations from an after hours boundaries, kind of work expectation, would be a way to reduce burnout, increase communication, and increase retention. Clarity these days is not a soft benefit, to your point. It's really important. Every time you implement something, every time you have a different business initiative, every time you're thinking about moving your business forward, think about how you can campaign this, how you can communicate it internally, how you can build toolkits and communication plans at every level across your business to help support that change, because clarity is going to impact retention significantly.
I have never thought about this, Amy, in all the years that I've been thinking about, writing about, speaking about HR, doing research on the space. I've never stopped to think about this, but there's an actual benefit to having a culture of clarity, a culture where you know where you stand as an employee, you know what our expectations are of you, and we're not going to ask this of you, but we are going to ask that. And if we just know those things, that puts you in a different level of peace, right? Not comfort. It's still work. It's still difficult many times, right? But there's a level of peace because you at least understand that versus it being undefined, unknown. And that's what gets people so stressed out, worried, and
they make up their own stories, right? It's always the worst thing. Think about it differently. Previously, we would have trended in HR to talk about transparency. Transparency is so important. There's a real difference between transparency and clarity, right? So think about that difference and how you might utilize those two terms differently as you're building your comms plan across your business. And think about the employee lens more than you ever have before, and what they need to feel that they're a part of the processes that you're implementing, that they have a sense of community and understanding and their own path of communication. Communication isn't just one way. Clarity isn't just one way, right? So that's also important to know.
Well, if it is one way, I don't think you can call it communication, right?
Cannot.
That's just that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. If we're communicating, but I'm doing all the talking and you're just sitting there soaking it all, that's not necessarily communicating. That works with your children. That doesn't work with adults in the workplace. Okay, that's not gonna fly. So I'm thinking about this clarity piece, and I'm trying to think of some examples of that at work. Right? What does that look like? Is it, hey, listen, Amy, you are here. In order to get here, here's what has to happen. I need you to do these things, build these skills, get this mentor, come back to me in 6 months, show me your work, and then we're going to have a real serious talk about you moving to that thing. Like, that's very real clarity at an individual level. That's also really hard because that means that you have to have people in the business that are willing to lean in on that and make that happen, instead of taking the easy path and saying, well, I'm just busy. If they have a problem, they'll ask. And we're seeing it in the data, those employees, that's the, what do you say, 56% that said, I'm looking at what's next because I don't feel like I'm really connected here potentially.
There's a couple of different ways that I would recommend that businesses really take into account these processes. There are a few things that you normally do that you just check the box on. First is performance management. The next is goal setting as a part of performance management, making that a 360 process. We've talked about that for decades, right? Like, it's not new, but think of it in a different way. Think of it in a way where you can help to guide the organization towards stronger retention and better understanding of the core objectives of the business, while providing them with clear feedback on their career path as a part of the feedback that you're providing them from a performance perspective or a past performance perspective. Maybe we think about performance management in a different way, and instead of 90% past performance, 10% goal setting, maybe it should be the reverse. And it should be 90% about setting expectations and finding clarity and career pathing, and 10% about how and what you did the last 12 months. There's real opportunity there. I don't think you go 100% one way or the other in those kinds of conversations, but take that as an opportunity. Maybe use that time and that process that's already prescriptive for you and your business a little bit differently and use it more to your advantage in this way.
You know, my favorite metaphor for that? The windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. Let's look at what's next for you. So let's be looking out at what's ahead, what's possible, what the opportunities are, and not just backwards always. We actually, wish I had the stat in front of me. We actually asked a question very much like what you just said, Amy, in our research on performance practices maybe a year or two ago. And what we found is employees were more likely to say, we have a very backward looking process and not a forward looking one. And it has to have some of both, as you said. There's a spectrum on that, but it allows us to think about what's next and cast that vision for the person. When we ask employees outright in our research, they tell us, I want to be seen for the potential I have, not just the skills I have today.
Yeah.
And all of us want that. The best leaders out there see that in us, even when we don't see it in ourselves. And yet, again, in the day-to-day, it's easy to just put all that aside and say, well, Amy, you missed this mark and you didn't do this thing, and make sure you do this next time. And that's as far as it goes. It's not, is this even what Amy wants to be doing a year from now? And how do I start aligning her to that thing?
Yeah. Or how do I even know what I want to be doing?
Yeah.
How do I know what's possible?
Yes. Managers are not equipped to be coaches in those sorts of ways typically. And that is one of the challenges with this. I could go down a whole different there. So let's come back to, so we've got like about 5 minutes left. I want to think about practical recommendations for our audience here. So if you have anything in the data around what's working right now, or around things that these leaders listening here, they're like, Amy, I'm ready to take notes. What are two or three things that are high leverage that I could go and do, whether it's with my leadership team, it's with our managers, it's with our employees, that are going to lead to some better results here? Do you have anything to share on that front?
Yeah, if we're talking about retention and retention of the right people, it first comes with identifying who are the right people for your business going forward. That's the number one thing that you can and should be doing from a best practice perspective. You've got to figure out what are the metrics, what makes a great person for this business or for this role. Both of those things, by the way, are very important because they could be very disparate. So what are the core values? What are the core skill sets? What's the core communication style? How do you find a best fit employee who has the most potential? And tracking those employees, understanding who they are and what makes them special is incredibly important. So start there. Often we start at the other end of the spectrum, which is performance management and career pathing and job descriptions and all of that. First, let's think about the values and the types of people that we want to have on our ship with us as we navigate these waters, right? The other is transparently building programs around that. So communication programs, coaching for your leaders to help them identify individuals and help them to understand how you might interact with them differently than you would interact with your core employee base. What percentage of each of the teams have this potential to continue to grow within the organization? Are there individuals who may be on the cusp who need some additional coaching or additional resources? And then build programs around that. Mentorship programs are really important, very undervalued, or I would say overlooked. I would say if you have a really great one, you know it's not undervalued, but it's nice to have in many organizations. I think it's critical, right? You can't do all the work as a leader. You've got to have other people that can pinch hit for you to make this a global effort, right, across the entire organization and knit the functions together. Don't take it all on yourself. Think of all of the leaders within your organization and high potentials as a network that you can take advantage of. I think that's incredibly important. There's a lot that a mentor gets from that as well, especially from a retention perspective. Think about things like how your performance management process currently works and whether or not it is serving your business. If it's a checkbox and that's all it's ever going to be, don't make it the most complicated checkbox situation in the whole world. Like, let's just axe it if you can, right? Or rebuild it in a different image that will help to meet the goals that you need to make as an organization. Retention is incredibly expensive, or attrition is incredibly expensive, and retaining employees is an incredible way to increase profitability across your organization. So really think about the ways that you can contribute to that while improving the employee experience. Those are just a couple of things. It feels really easy coming out of my mouth. It's not. None of these things are easy. There's a reason why we're here as HR practitioners to try and figure out these really hard problems. Getting something 50% of the way there is better than zero. Don't try to boil the ocean, if you will. Pick a small things. That's really my mantra. Pick a few small things, get a few things under your belt, build some trust with your leadership organization that these things are adding value. Ask them what they need to be more successful more often than anyone else, right? Like partner, because they're the ones who are going to help you get these other things done and help you the most to improve the employee experience across your business.
I'm going to go back and reiterate the very first thing you said. I think everything else actually flows from that. You said, decide what good looks like for your people, for these roles, for these positions, right? And make that clarity from earlier. But when you do that, that clarity around that fits into hiring, onboarding, training, performance. We know what goals to hold them to, how to hold them accountable. We need all those things, but it comes from that very first root of we have defined what good looks like. If we don't know that, everything else is going to be a guess after that. Sometimes it's a good guess, sometimes it's a bad guess, but it's all a guess after that if we don't have that source of truth to go back to and say, we all agreed this is what we need. And so why are we onboarding them in a different direction? Why are we not training for those things? Why are we not holding them accountable in performance for that stuff we said was important? Let's go back to the source of truth and either renegotiate that or change how we're doing this to come back and align to it. So such a great set of takeaways there. We're going to actually get a link to that research and put it here into the chat here on screen so people can scan that, go check that out. You can also connect with Amy on LinkedIn. She is out there. Amy Mosher will drop her LinkedIn handle into the chat as well. So all of you can reach out and connect with your new favorite Amy. Don't tell any other Amy's I know, but favorite Amy, my friend, so glad to see you. So grateful for your inputs here and your passion. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you.
My sincere pleasure, Ben. Thank you.
Absolutely. To everybody else out there, stay tuned for more summer school coming right up. All right. I'll put us back. And no. There we go. All right. Goodness. Too much awesome for the screen to handle. Couldn't figure it out. All right. Loved Amy's conversation. Loved her comments around clarity, the importance of that. Seemed like the call out on the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror. That one seemed to stand out for people. And it all comes down, we could have boiled that whole thing down to the last thing that we talked about, George, where she said, if you don't know what good looks like, if you haven't defined at the beginning, good luck holding anybody accountable for anything ever, because you haven't told them what to expect, right? Yeah. And from a leadership and a culture perspective, you've talked about that for years about, okay, sure, you can have some culture, but if you don't tell people what that looks like in terms of like real actions, behaviors, good luck.
It's hard to measure, but it's hard to also hold accountable what is not clear. And I think a lot of times in leadership, even in challenging times, you think about, change and the things that we're facing hourly. I won't say weekly or monthly anymore. It's like every hour it can trigger something, especially in the HR space. Change is fun. Change is whatever we as leaderships really embody. If we say that change is fearful, our employees are going to embrace that fear because they sense that unexpectancy. But if we say, hey, this change is going to be incredible for our future because it's going to align with our purpose and who we are and what we do and why we do what we do, it becomes meaningful. Everybody gets behind those things. And so I think it's important to have that clarity, have that transparency to what you want the culture to be and then live it and not just speak it as well.
Every year, I mean to put extra time in the agenda so we can have more of a conversation versus moving to the next session. And so we're moving to the next session. So we're going to go on
to Lance. Start recording our phone calls. This is every day for us.
I know. It's a lot. All right. We're going to go to Lance Sapera as our next conversation. As I mentioned earlier, Lance has been a hiring leader at tons of companies that you know the names of all of. He's a friend and someone that I highly respect. And one of the biggest takeaways I got from him, he wasn't even mentioned it during the session, so I'll give him extra kudos here, is we were at a session at an event about a year ago, got a bunch of leaders together to talk about some of the things they were seeing. And one of the things he told us that was so profound, he said, listen, we have to have respect for people in the hiring process. He said, we don't do text breakups.
If I've talked to you, I will not text you or email you or just ignore you. We'll give you a phone call just to say, thank you for your time. We appreciate you, respect you, but we couldn't, we're not gonna move forward. We said no text breakups. Like that stuck with me. So that's the kind of man you're about to hear from. So let's jump in with Lance, and right after that will be Angela. Here we go. One, so excited you're here with us today and looking forward to a conversation with a longtime friend of summer school and a longtime friend of mine, Lance Sapera. We're gonna be talking about hiring, some of the approach we can do to create trust and connection with people, the importance of humanity in that process. Lance, welcome, my friend. Glad you're here.
It's good to be here, Ben. I look forward to every chance you and I have to talk, and particularly when we get a chance to talk shop.
Yes, absolutely. I told someone that we need to get you back on the podcast. When we did the episode a couple years ago, I walked around for months saying, this is the best episode I've ever had on the show. After it had been running for 7 years, like this is the first and the best episode. So I need to get you back again, and let's set a new bar for what that looks like. So today we're going to be talking about the TA stuff. But before we get into some of that fun talking shop, as you said, can you take a minute and tell the audience more about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm Lance, and I'm actually, I think almost everybody probably listening today is familiar with Simon Sinek. I'm somebody who's done my why, Ben. And I know that for me, my why is understanding problems so that together my team and I can solve them. And so that's why I often shorten it to simply, I'm somebody who believes that people and leadership matter.
Man, goodness, I love that. I love it. You have a lot more to your whole story there. Again, we could spend a lot of time diving into that, but you are a TA leader that I know and respect, and you have great perspectives on what works. You've been there, you've done that, got all the battle scars, all those things. So as we're going through today, I want the audience to hear, like, you're not just bringing an opinion, you're bringing a lot of experience to the table to talk about some of these things today. So I want to start off with this theme here for the event has been around humanity and the importance of that. You and I are in the hiring world. And so we talk and hear a lot about AI this, AI that. It's the answer to everything. There's so much conversation around automation, but there's also this sort of balance there, right? You are very protective of the human side of recruiting. Every time we interact, you're like, yeah, but don't forget. And you sort of like pull us back to that reality. Talk about what your perspective is on that and why companies need to be careful balancing both of those pieces when it comes to hiring.
Yeah. How much time do we have?
3.5 hours, Lance. Let's go, man.
Don't we wish? Well, I think one of the good things about this conversation is that just looking at the people you're speaking to and across previous agendas, how it all fits together. And specific to your question around the push for technology and AI specifically to create efficiencies and effectiveness, save time, I'm all for that. But what I'm more for is keeping the human in recruiting. And so what do I mean by that? Specifically, I mean that my teams use tools that can help you do manual administrative things faster. And there are tools out there that are doing that for us. What I have found in my experience is that no technology is ever going to save time or improve efficiency the way human to human interaction in the recruiting process does. And specifically, the most important one I see is that recruiter hiring manager relationship. If we take a breath from the race to get things posted faster and use tools to find the person who gets all the skills and experiences required, if we take a minute and listen for what is the problem that we are solving for, then recruiters with the amazing listening skills they have, and the fact that the ones that are so very good at what they do, they understand the business, they understand how teams work, they can start to bring a assessment lever to the process that no tool can. And so for me, that's this piece, is the different human to human relationships that happen in the recruiting process, starting with the recruiter and the hiring manager. And then I think the next most important one would be, and you talk about this a ton in your talent scarcity book, is the recruiter candidate too. These are human to human.
There's a piece of research last year, I believe, the data we pulled in from this around candidates. So we actually asked them about the importance of that relationship that they have with that recruiter, that connection point that they have. And we found that many of them told us, the majority said that that relationship lasts, persists beyond start date, beyond start month, like even beyond the first year in some cases. It's because, my guess is it's because of the level of trust you have to have. When I'm talking to you, Lance, trying to understand not just do you have skill ABC, but what do you want to be? Like, where do you see yourself? What does success look like for you? Because if I'm going to put you in a job that doesn't fit that, I know it's a short-term fix and it's not going to work for you or for us as a business. And so that level of trust and connection feels like that's why that matters so much to candidates on that end. Let's go back over to the first one you talked about, though, that one-to-one with the hiring managers. What is your biggest piece of advice for really building a strong relationship? Because I know people that are listening right now, and in their head, they're picturing, Lance, you just don't know this person. You don't know Tom over there. You don't know Sherry over there. They're so hard to work with. They demand all these things. They don't review resumes on time. Then they expect me to, like, they have this picture in their head of difficulty because they're working with someone that may be giving them some challenges. How do you break down those barriers to start creating more fruitful relationships in that one-to-one so that we're beating out the other just efficiency and automation pieces you talked about at the beginning?
That's a hard one.
Another loaded question. Yes, I'm asking you all the hard questions today.
And the interesting piece is this is how it goes from just being the recruiter is challenged to get the hiring manager's attention. And it can be for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes they are difficult to work with, but most of the time it's just they've got an insane amount of demands being placed on them to lead the team and deliver the product or the quota, whatever they're responsible for. And so stepping back and thinking about this as an ecosystem, I think is where we can have the best progress. And so that means it isn't just on the recruiter to get Ben's attention and then get through some kind of intake conversation, whatever companies want to call it. This needs to be about your company embracing the importance of hiring. And so business partners who have talked with the hiring manager about the role and what problem are they solving for? Has finance been involved to make sure you have the right budget? So if you really do need a senior level person, you can go to market and find somebody. You pull in all these other pieces that it then becomes not just about how do I get Ben's attention, but how do we do this together? And then that translates across to the interview team. You and I get real clarity on what we're looking for. How many people listening to us then have the interviewer who's every bit as busy as the hiring manager? They show up because they just finished a critical meeting and now they end up winging it. And so taking another breath, get the interview team aligned. Ben, I'd like you to cover this. Lance, I'd like you to cover this. Lynn, I need you to cover this. Now we start to have this aligned, integrated approach that also gives us this more fulsome view of the candidate, because I'm not asking the same things Ben asked. I'm asking areas that are in my wheelhouse that I know I need to know if this person's right. But then it also helps us flip this important switch, which is we're not just assessing to eliminate. And this is something I've learned from a lot of great peers I've worked with. We're recruiting. And so I darn well better spend some time helping you see why you would want to come here. And so I think it's that piece. It's bigger than just how do I get them to pay attention to me, to help them help themselves. This fits into a bigger, we're adding somebody that's going to make this company better and strengthen our culture.
I love this picture you're painting of this set of people that come together for a common purpose, a common goal, right? We want, ultimately, at the end of the day, the hiring manager wants the right person in the job. They want them up to speed. They want them productive. The recruiter wants the right person in the job. They want them to stick around. They want them to be happy so they don't have to fill that job again, right? Everyone in the puzzle is, and the candidate's like, please pick me. I want to do the job. I want to show up and prove what I can do. So all these people want the same sort of things, but at the end of the day, as you said, hiring managers, like, they're juggling this among 87 other things, and sometimes they're pulled away even though they don't want to be, and they'd want to spend more time there, and they're just limited in their time, things like that. So I like the picture you're painting that we're all coming together with this common purpose. if I can press you on one more thing around this from
Sure.
a practical, tangible sort of perspective, if people are listening to us now, what are some signs that that relationship is working? If that partnership is truly where you're talking about, this picture you're painting, and it's working out, what are some hallmarks for that or signs of that relationship's in a good place? Because I want people listening to say, okay, we've got 2 or 3 of those, we feel good. Or, hey, we don't have any of those, we need to actually step it up, go back and re-listen to the session with Lance and get back aligned. Anything you would share there around what those relationships look like when they're actually humming along and working nicely?
Oh man, you got my brain going 1,000 RPM. That's such a great question, because stepping back from how do we get it to be about just, I need Ben's attention to get this transaction of the intake meeting done. If we really want to make it more than that, there's this piece that recruiters should ask themselves, am I showing up with curiosity to understand what Ben's really solving for? What's his team trying to do? How does this fit into the product release schedule, which then gives the sales team even more to sell as they listen to what the customer's going for? So are you showing up curious for more than just finding somebody for the role?
Yes.
Strengthen the company, the team, and provide a career opportunity for someone. One of the ways you can tell this is working is when the hiring manager reaches out to you directly because they want to go. They're ready to go because they know you help them find great people. Are they inviting you to town halls, QBRs, other kinds of sessions where the team gets together that the recruiter, because you've moved from this, I'm assigned to the rec transactional, to now they see Ben as an extension of the team. So when I hear that recruiters have gone to the QBR or a town hall, or the interview team invited them to maybe sit in on an interview, see how they're assessing, or the interview team gets together to discuss candidates and they get invited to that. That's how you know you're building trust and being seen as an extension of the team, that true consultant that they need that helps you do your job better. So that's what immediately jumps to mind, is that it's not how am I doing on my rec? It is, how's the business doing?
You didn't use the exact words, but I go back to Covey's like seek first to understand and then to be understood. And I'm trying to understand the perspective of this hiring manager, not thinking, again, I'm picturing someone in my head we used to work with that was challenging for me, but not thinking about what bothers me or the difficulties, the challenges. Like, hey, you know what? This is the reality. What can we do to still work with them? What can we still do to show up for them? What can we still do to be a partner? Remember the old movie Hitch, the Will Smith movie? Like, go 90, they come 10. Like, don't go 50% and think, well, I'm just going to stand here and wait for them to come the other half. No, show up, go more than that extra mile, because it's going to pay off in that relationship, in that trust, and they start doing what you said. That proactive, hey, Lance, just wanted to let you in on what we're working on in case there probably some hiring needs at some point, but I want to let you know just so you can be aware. And that sort of thing is a very far cry from what most people get now, which is, hey, here's the rec and I need this person yesterday. Can you go ahead and make that happen for me? That's what most of us get. And so that's more proactive partnering sort of relationship is possible, but it doesn't come from a place of, I'm going to stand back and just wait to be called on. It's really stepping in a partner. I love that mentality, that approach, that perspective on that one. I want to ask you one more question today as we're going through this. I've enjoyed this so much. I got some like good practical things out of this. I love it. The theme this year, I'm asking several of our speakers about this, and I'm deeply curious about what you're going to say. The theme this year for summer school is the future of work is human. So much has been written about, talked about AI as the savior of all, and it's a great tool, but it's not necessarily the lifeboat I think all of us think it is. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about that? What is your perspective on that? When I say the future of work is human, how does it make you feel? What comes to mind?
I'm not the first person to say it, but it's human-led AI/tech enabled. And so finding that balance between where can a tool do something to save me a few minutes? So my teams, we talk about where can you create some extra bandwidth to give a hiring manager an extra update. What hiring manager wouldn't love to know just how you're doing? or follow up with a candidate. I'm sure there's going to be conversations this week around just the sheer volume of candidates and those who really aren't qualified or aren't interested. Recruiters who can show up at every interview and listen, not just for how this person might be a great addition to this role, but for the future, because the more we start to focus on building pipelines, not just because we sourced it from LinkedIn or some other tool, but because I had a conversation, guess what? When you reach out to them for the next role, because a business partner is giving you a heads up, this really tough role is coming, you're immediately not thinking, oh my gosh, I need to write some kind of crazy Boolean string. You're thinking, you know what? I've spoken with 3 people in the last 12 months who are probably good start points for this. So that's how I think about this in terms of just technology enabled, AI enabled, but it's really human led. And it comes back to being present when we have those conversations to hear what the hiring manager is solving for, what the business partner is telling the recruiter. This team really needs this, which can be really helpful because it probably or might be different than the hiring manager. What's the candidate saying? All these pieces that fit in, that for as amazing as these tools are, and as humans, I just think we're better at a piece of it.
Yeah. Yes. So much of this is that relational component, that trust component, and you can't outsource trust. You can't automate trust. You can't get those things off our plate. If you try, you're going to have some very unappealing consequences. I'll go ahead and put that one out there for people. So, okay. So Lance, if someone wants to connect with you or reach out, just follow up with you after this session, is LinkedIn the best way to do that?
That's the best, easiest start point. And we'll go from there. I'm just a big fan of the community, you and George and the entire team, everybody who's listening. You know this with all your travels, but I think in particular, the HR community and some PA maybe specifically, we're about lifting the entire community, because I can copy somebody and by the time I'm doing it the way they were doing, they've moved on. And so this idea of helping all of us just be better in this insanely competitive world we live in, it's good for all of us. So thank you for the work you and George and everybody's doing.
Well, thank you so much. I said at the beginning, I'll say it again here. I respect you greatly for the contributions you've made as a recruiting leader and the impact you've made on others throughout your career, but also for being a person in the community. I could tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, Lance, I've got this wild, crazy research question, and you always have a good answer. You always have some thoughtful inputs. And so I appreciate that so much about you. So today, all of you out there listening in, some of my takeaways for the session: seek first to understand. If you want to connect with those hiring managers, you've got to show up and want to understand first. Proactive connections and outreach are one of the things you can look for to know if those relationships are working properly. And then even if you don't trust each other yet, mutual respect for each other will start that and give you a foundation that's some fertile ground for trust to grow. So thank you again, Lance, for joining us, for the good things that you're doing out there. To everybody else out there, stay tuned for more summer school coming right up.
Awesome. This is incredible. I actually want to continue this conversation. But before I dive into this first question, introduce yourself, please, because we had this opportunity to really connect on a virtual event before in the past.
Yep.
And so I'm familiar. I'm excited about having you here. Love the frames, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angela Briggs Page. I am a Chief People Officer, and I am the founder of a fractional consulting organization called People Power, POWHR. And my work really involves pushing organizations to have real conversations, hard conversations about what it takes to make people thrive in workplaces.
I love that. Diving right back into, I want to continue this conversation that Lance and Ben just had, because as I'm listening to them, I'm hearing these words about trust and transparency today, talking about clarity and communication and all these great things. And, you know, the conversation I had with Rod, and in my mind, and I've said this many times recently, is that a lot of organizations, and I'll be interested in and confident enough to say most organizations, I'll be that bold, are trying to really solve today's workforce challenges. and issues with yesterday's leadership's assumptions, right? And I'll say that again. A lot of organizations are trying to solve today's workforce problems with yesterday's leadership assumptions. And what we really need is leaders that can actually lead us through this transparency. So I want to talk about just that, because I think it's a beautiful piece to kind of continue that conversation with Lance. I just want you to talk about transparency just for a second, because it plays a role, right, in creating stronger, more connecting workplace cultures.
Yeah. Transparency is the price of trust. So I'm gonna say it again. Transparency is the price of trust, right? There's no payment plan. You can't put it on layaway. It's either you are paying for trust through your transparency or you're not. And real transparency is hard.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm going to have a value of a transparency and put it on a poster on a wall. It's not, I'm going to have a slide on the town hall deck and say, we value open communication. Transparency is having that real conversation with someone, even when the feedback is unflattering.
Yeah.
Transparency is saying, here's why we made this decision, even though the reason can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Transparency is also another form of respect, right? It is saying that I trust you enough to tell you the truth. And I believe that people rise to the level of trust you extend.
Say that part again.
People rise to the level of trust you extend.
We can end it right here. we can end it right here. Listen, the problem is that all the papers and notes that if I had, they're gone out the window. Everything that we talk about, that we're going to talk about, is gone out the window, because this transparency piece, to me, then leads to a different direction. And I don't want to pivot too much for those who are excited about this conversation. We're going to stay in the conversation. We're going to stay within the yard, but we're going to open up the rim of these gates here, if you will, because transparency is so important. You said respect. And when I heard respect, I heard belonging, right? The psychological definition of belonging is I feel accepted, respected, and appreciated. And when we use that data, how to say data one time for our president Ben, when we look at our data on that is such a huge piece. Not done there, because as a current or previous owner of 18 retail stores in multiple states, and one of the things that we talked about was we wanted engagement for our employees. We wanted to be connected with our employees. And then we wanted belonging with our employees. And all these years, I missed the foundation of all those things, of transparencies, of trust, psychological safety, right? And so we talk about the transparency and the trust and the importance of that. When I discussed earlier how we're trying to solve these problems today with yesterday's assumptions, the employees are seeking something. They're seeking, they desire to have that trust. They want that. They don't want leaders who are always right. They want leaders who are real. Rob said it earlier, even if I have a mistake, even if I don't know, it's okay for me to say I don't know, right? Leaders are seeking, and the questions that they're asking is, do I matter? And not just do I matter here at this organization, right? Can I trust leadership? Will AI replace me or elevate me, right? And does this company see the reality of my work? A lot of people don't know what we do. They just hired us. We're sitting in the corner. We're doing the work. They don't know the full function of what HR is. Every time I live and I talk to an HR professional, I'm realizing there's a different door that just opened up in this. And so it's so huge. Let's talk a little bit about psychological safety, because I think that builds on the trust, transparency, and belonging piece. How important is that? And when it comes to how we as leaders can intentionally, with purpose, create environments where psychological safety is created, where do we start?
That's a good question. That's a lot of questions. That was a stacked question for me. So
I just want to give you everything, because we're going to pile it all.
Okay. I'm going to start by saying I get energized by anticipating the pause, the breath an employee has, an individual has, before they say the thing. Because within that pause, within that breath, that's your culture. And that pause, that breath is whether or not I feel safe enough to tell you the truth. So in that pause, in that breath, that determines how I'm going to show up, if I'm going to give you my best, if I'm paying an additional tax, because let's call a thing, because I believe in being real. There is an additional tax on some people, an identity tax on whether or not they can say the thing. So within that is that psychological safety, that pause, that breath lets me know, how can I show up in this organization?
Yeah.
Because there's one question to ask is, will I be welcomed here? Right? It's a different question to ask, will my opinions matter here? And that is that divide that we've really got to start just talking about and level setting. So we've got to think about what that means, because belonging is not a feeling. It is the conditions we build in the organization, right? It is the meeting. It's making sure every voice is heard. It's not just asking who's in the room, but it's also asking who's not in the room. Whose voice do I need to hear to make sure we're making the right decision, right? It's also, it has to start with the individual. And you have to ask yourself, am I including everyone in this conversation? Is it the same 5 people that I normally talk to?
Yeah.
Are we having a meeting after the meeting to talk about this is a decision that we're going to make? And we're just going to tell everyone that we want to hear their opinions, but we really don't, because we're being disingenuous. So we kind of say that, and then we put all their opinions to the side. People notice that behavior, right? Yeah. Belonging is a behavior. Transparency is a behavior. And people are watching to see what our behaviors are in the organization.
That's so critical, looking at it from a behavior standpoint. Because when we talk about culture, and I'll throw it out here because I want everybody to have the right definition of culture. It's culture, a lot of times in organizations, we look at culture as the behavior, but that's the outcome of what culture first starts, right? So culture is how most, not all, but how most employees feel. It starts with a feeling. How did my leader make me feel, right? And then from that feeling, it then goes to a belief. And so how that leader made me feel makes me now believe this about that leader, but also about the organization that allows them to be the leader in this organization. And that becomes my behavior, right? When we think about it from a child, why does a child act in this way at a restaurant? Or why does a child act this way at home? Well, something made them feel that this was okay, and this was normal, or this was acceptable, or this is the outcome of a disconnect. All right, I want to talk about the importance of connection within this psychological safety, this transparency, this trust, this belonging behavior. Is that if we pivot, and I think about it from this, when I pivot back to your statement about trust earlier, it made me think trust is really the new currency of leadership, right? It's not perfection, it's not certainty, it's trust. As we continue to evolve within the word, which leadership qualities within all these behaviors, which leadership qualities will matter the most for building, and I don't even want to say high performing teams, I just want to say human-centered teams, where people do matter, where they're not just at a table or a seat. And as you said, they're not just being heard and then put to the side until the CEO or CFO or somebody makes it their own and takes credit for it, right, and celebrates themselves. But the voice of the voiceless, the voice of the invisible people that are like George, believe it or not, nobody's going to believe this next statement, Angela. For the introverts, when the camera and the lights are not on, that will do the work but never be recognized or never be talked to because George does the work. We don't need to deal with him. He's a hard worker, but he never gets celebrated or invited to the table to have a voice and say, hey, how's everything going? How do we as leadership, what are those qualities? If you can give the audience the qualities of Angela.
Perfect. So I can get up here and I can say adaptability, I can say empathy, I can say emotional intelligence, and those are all great, and people would nod their head and say yes. I'm gonna give 2 different, and we've heard some of the other speakers talk about this today. One is the courage to be clear. The courage to be clear, right? My whole theme this year on LinkedIn is to lead with clarity, right? People need to understand what is expected of them, right? How are they doing? What's the real feedback? How are we calling a thing a thing? That's so important, right? When people don't know where they stand, when they don't know what good looks like, they don't know how to get there. So it's really important. The first one is saying, how are we having that courage to be clear, which is really important. The second one that's really, really important to me is the security to share power. The security to share power, right? Traditional leadership would say that the leader has to have all the answers. They have to make all the decisions, and your team will help you get there. When we think about having the security to share power, it's okay saying, I don't have the answer to this. What do you think? So you're sharing that power with your teams, and they will rise up and help you make the best decision instead of you doing that very siloed.
I want to break down clarity a little bit more because I think there's something different. This word has come up too many times for it just to be a coincidence. Where do we start? And let's assume that 51% of our audience today is living in chaos. How do you provide clarity in chaos? It's storming. No umbrella. Wasn't prepared, so we don't have a rain jacket. And so when we're in the shower, we love the water that comes on us. But when we're outside and our hair is done, makeup's did, and our nice shoes are on for the men out there with nice shoes.
And the women with the nice shoes?
Yeah, and the women with the nice shoes. It's in the wrong environment. One thing can become a chaotic moment. In the shower, the rain, the water is great. Go outside to work and it's storming, it's frustration. How do you find clarity in chaos?
I think we have to start with what we're trying to accomplish. And my leadership team will know this because I was like, what are the critical few things that we're going to focus on? It's easy to try to boil the ocean, but I think clarity has to start with what are we really trying to accomplish this year, this quarter, this month. There has to be clear, and it can't be a long list of things because you can't do everything or you can't do everything well. So let's be clear about what it is we're trying to accomplish. Because when people have clear understanding of what they need to get done, they have clear expectations of how their performance will be assessed. It makes any conversation you have so much easier, right? So I would start by just be really clear about your goals for the year as an organization. And then I would say also for leaders, for managers, know how to not just give feedback, because a lot of people get training on how to give feedback, but how do you receive feedback? We always say that we want you to be able to come to us and give us feedback, but the reality is so many leaders are resistant to hearing that. So don't just focus on giving feedback as a whole for everyone, but also focus on receiving feedback because there's clarity in that as well.
I love it. The future of work is human. When
people stop treating humans like resources and start treating them like people we lead.
Where can people connect with you? I'm gonna ask you that right now because you said a mouthful, and I'm looking forward to pausing this, breaking it down, and recapping it and showing it again because everything you said is just so impactful. Where can people connect with you?
LinkedIn is my home base. LinkedIn is my home base, so you can definitely find me there. Please reach out, connect, ask the questions. I like the conversation, so that'll be fun.
All right, and then because I didn't want that to be the last thing you said, with the 500 plus people watching on this stream, the other 400 or 500 people on LinkedIn and our YouTube, all these different places, 3,000 people are watching your voice right now. And I'm seeing some of these comments flying by. Somebody passed the offering plate within the first 2 minutes. And so give us one last word that can wrap up this session of the human side of leadership, leading with clarity and belonging. And I'm gonna ask you to throw in a word
Okay.
because you use a T word earlier.
Okay. The human side of work is the real work. And you can either pay as an investment on the front end with higher retention, higher engagement, higher performance, or you can pay on the back end with turnover, with disengagement, with rehiring. So I don't want people to leave here thinking that the human side of work, human-centered work, is an additional lift. It is the lift. It's what you should be doing.
You can just walk off right there on that. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up one more time for Miss Angela. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
That was incredible. Oh man, that was too good. I'm gonna slide over. So Ben, how you doing, my friend? You over there? Where I grew up in church, and I never understood this concept until I got older. But they used to throw shoes at the stage. I'm like, what in the world is going on? But it was a sign of I'm with you. I'm walking with you. I'm in agreement, right? It's like, so be it. So, I really wanted to just kind of throw my shoe up or throw this shoe up. And then I realized they're good shoes, and I don't throw my shoe. He's afraid. I'm gonna catch the shoe, but I'm gonna throw it up right there. That was incredible. Any takeaways for you?
Angela's got to come back. I'm speechless over here. Angela's got to come back. The reason you met Angela is because I was just being on a panel with her and I had a conflict, and I'm still kicking myself because I missed the chance to meet her the first time after hearing how incredible that was. I love that clarity came up yet again, like what we were talking a minute ago. I said, hey, interesting. Lance mentioned that. And then I hear it come from Angela, and I think it's such an opportunity for us. Again, she said so many good things that the audience is loving. You'll have to go back and watch the comments, Angela, because they're your biggest fans now. But I love the reminder that doing the people stuff, taking care of people, that's not extra stuff on top of it. That is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Number one, front and center. If you're doing it out of obligation, you're doing it just as a job, you're doing it just to get a paycheck, then you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
You have to do this kind of work because you care about the people on the other end of it, or go find a job in accounting or in marketing or something else. They need people, sure. But the people in this, we need them to care.
Yeah.
Number one.
I think it's caring and then showing up and showing up as yourself and not a title, right? And that means so often when we fall in love with the title being, we have to feel like we're always happy and nothing's wrong with the world. But when we show up as ourselves, we can show up and say, George is vulnerable enough to say, I'm going through hell, but I'm gonna keep on going, right? I'm going through a struggle. And there's no leave the baggage at the door. Like, this is who I am. This is who I'll be. And I think that's part of the conversation earlier with Rod is like, be authentic. And authentic means if you're crying, cry. If you're hurting, hurt. If you're having joy in your life, show that joy. But at the end of the day, whatever you are, we're going to do it. We're going to do this life together. And I think that's important in this space. And he said a word that I really love, and that was love. Like,
We gotta
love not just what we do, but love who we do it with. Love the people, because healthy people creates healthy cultures, and healthy cultures create healthy business.
Yes, 1,000%. I was going to call out one of the comments there I flagged when you were, again, I love watching you try to keep up with that and try to keep up with the conversation. Like, oh my goodness, it's like watching the dog trying to figure out which bowl to eat from first. So Amanda had a comment where she said, have I been hired just to do this job, or am I hired to make a contribution? Right. And that goes back to what I said a minute ago. If you're just doing this stuff, it's a job, and it extends to our people too.
Yeah.
The best companies help people understand the thing I'm doing is not the only outcome here.
Right.
The thing I'm doing builds to this other thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes, doing the work is doing the work.
Yeah.
But who was it? Was it Martin Luther King that said, if you're going to be a street sweeper, do it so well that when you're gone, people say a great street sweeper was here.
Yeah.
Right? You did it so well with such fervor, with such care and concern for the work you were doing. And that is my hope for every person hearing us today, that you're doing your work with that level of excellence, that when you are not there anymore, people are like, man, Jeff was great.
Yeah.
Right? Felisa was great. She was amazing. She was so good. The way she did it, so much care, so much concern. She didn't just want to do the thing. She cared about the people she was doing it for and what it meant at the end of the day. And then one last one. Jason Thrasher during that conversation. Our friend Jason from last year did a great session on why we should choose joy, and we're doing this work, showing up with joy every day. And y'all are talking about, I missed the specific part of the comment. I didn't get it, but he's like, you can't put that on layaway, right? I was like, layaway, that's a throwback, man. Welcome. Oh, gosh. Love you, Jason. Love you, man. So, all right, some great conversations this morning. I actually didn't take the time because I was too engrossed in the conversation to put some people's names down for awards yet, prizes. George is building that list over here as we speak. So we are going to actually segue into the next session with Jack from Take Command. We'll do that session around benefits, some of the frustrations and challenges employees feel around that. And then we'll come back together. We'll do a couple giveaways before we give our final session. Or maybe we just segue, like line right into that one, and we'll figure it out. Anyway, we're here for you. So give me 1 second to get this one pulled up, George, and we'll be ready to go on to that.
Yes. Any live audience questions? I'll take one live audience question. Any on today? Any highlights? Are y'all in the chat? Yes, ma'am. Sure,
bring it. Comment from the audience. Angela is amazing.
Yeah,
and
shout out
she
to
got
Angela.
a hearty thumbs up. Transparency is the price of trust. That was one of the big takeaways from that. That's short enough to fit on a shirt without the awkward lingering stare as you're trying to walk by. So we can do that. We can call it out.
I think it's somebody asked me, Ben's changed his name tag more than I've changed my shoes today, which is interesting. Because I actually had 2 pairs of shoes in the car. I didn't bring them in because I didn't want to be judged, and y'all don't know my situation. But one of the things that I wanted to bring this up. You got it ready, and I want to talk about it right after this because I think
you'll talk your tag after this. Okay.
ROI.
There we go. All right, so we're going to hear from Jack at Take Command. They're one of our partners for the event today around benefits. If you came to our event back in January around some myths at work, we talked about the myth of some of the myths around employee benefits. And so Jack's back. We're going to talk about some of the data they've collected, how your people feel about the benefits they have right now. That storm cloud you mentioned a minute ago, it's on the horizon. Here we go.
Fine. So if you joined us for our January summer school kickoff, I know summer school, January. Jack was just commenting a minute ago before we started recording. He's like, it's finally summer. Yes. So January, we did our summer school kickoff this year and talked about some of the lies at work. Jack and I went into a great session around some of the lies around benefits or some of the myths around that. And so for this session, Jack and I are going to talk about some of the new research that Take Command has done around how employees feel about benefits, some of the opportunities around there for us to serve them better. And Jack and I share that same vision for using benefits as a way to help people, to help their families, and to help them stay connected to the business. So Jack, welcome back. Glad you're here.
Ben, thanks for having me back. Happy summer.
Hey, happy summer. Yes.
Happy summer.
Should have showed up with a sunburn. That would have been
look more convincing.
Very fitting for the time. So before we get into some of the fun things we're going to talk about, I mentioned Take Command. Y'all were our partners for the event today, and we're grateful for that. But take a minute and tell the audience more about who you are and what you do, please.
Oh, thanks, Ben. Great to be back. Appreciate you having us back. My name's Jack. I'm the CEO and founder of Take Command. So Take Command, we partner with insurance brokers and employers that are interested in offering a new style of health benefits to their employees that's based on a reimbursement or defined contribution. You can think of it as like 401k health. The health term for it is an individual coverage, HRA or ICHRA. But fundamentally, it's a new way to provide benefits where you give that reimbursement. Employees pick out a plan that has their doctors and prescriptions. And then you, the employer, are still providing a great benefit, but you're out of the crazy enrollment cycles. You're out of trying to pick a plan for everybody. People can get what they want.
Every time I hear that, I think individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement, right? And like all the long names were taken, so they picked that one.
Pick that one. It was originally even worse, Ben. It was going to be the HRA integrated with individual coverage, the hierarchy, which we had an interesting opportunity when the rules were being written. We were like, one of our comments was, "Hey, government, we love this idea, but this is unpronounceable." And they came back with ICHRA, and it's like, still not great. There's some new legislation that might actually change it to choice, which I think is a little bit better, but we'll still take ICHRA over hierarchy or something.
You're going to strain something and be unable to finish the session.
Yeah.
I need you to be careful with that, trying to throw that one out there. So you and the team just finished some research recently around employee benefits, and everybody who's listening here knows that Ben's love language is data and research. So we're going to have some fun diving into this. Let's start off with a big shot across the top. What are the biggest worries that employees have around benefits right now?
Great question, Ben. So for the audience, what we did is we commissioned a survey just to talk to employees. We think at the end of the day, take command. And we know for your audience, HR, like employees are the heart. And so what do they think? Not what do the brokers think, not what do the carriers think, not what is the industry saying, like what are they thinking or feeling around benefits? And we asked all types of employees. We wanted to see what is the state of employee attitudes towards health benefits and health insurance. And there's some things we found that I don't think will surprise your audience, but then I think some things that are kind of intriguing and worth looking into. Top takeaways, employees really want more control. Second takeaway, insurance is something that's stressful to employees. Hopefully that's not a shock. Employees feel like they're paying more for insurance. And so I think as an administrator, it can be like, gosh, why are we dealing with all this? One of the final findings was just how important health benefits are to hiring and retention. So with all the new types of benefits, employees are still looking to healthcare and health coverage as a primary decision or primary part of their decision, whether to stay at a job or take a job. So really important for benefit providers to know.
I'm thinking about the other big expenses in our lives, Jack. Like when you decide to buy a car or something else, you get full choice. You get to pick what you want, basically, right? When you're deciding on where you're going to live, that's as much as someone's insurance payment a month, right? For health insurance, they get to choose those things. And yet it feels like with the health insurance, it's take it or leave it almost is how employees feel about that. And so that's what I said a minute ago, the choice terms that go that way is very fitting because what y'all are doing is giving people this flexibility, this option to pick that. That to me is the first thought is they're stuck and they want more control. And it was the first thing you said there. And that's why I feel like you're paying so much for it. And yet you get no say so in it. Imagine doing the same thing with a car. Like someone's going to tell you how much car you have and how much it's going to cost, and you pay it or you walk. And people would revolt over that. And yet health insurance, we settled into this rhythm where it's just normalized.
I think this is an area where, potentially full of insights for HR leaders. So the question we asked employees in the survey was, who do you believe should control your health insurance choice? We just went straight at it.
The throat. Come on, Jack.
Just right at it. 12% said my employer. Now, I imagine if we asked HR administrators and leaders who feel the burden of this, that number would be significantly higher, saying that, hey, that's my job to help choose the benefit for everyone. But only 12% said my employer when asked, who do you believe should control your health insurance choices? Over 50% said me, the employee. Now, it's interesting to unpack this a little bit. We do see some generational differences in divides. Not to over stereotype generations, but a lot of employers now are like us. We love Gen Z, but we're trying to figure them out in the workplace, that sort of thing. To your analogy, the idea that you're going to give Gen Z a car or you're going to give them a health plan, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Versus other generations appreciate, oh my gosh, thank you so much for picking this out for me and doing all the hard work. It's not that Gen Z is ungrateful. And again, not trying to over stereotype, but they're used to having choice and they're used to picking these things up. And so this was the first time when we've done this survey that now greater than half of the employees survey, when you add it all together, say, hey, hold on, me, the employee, I should be the one choosing my benefits. Only 12% said the employer. The remaining, just to fill in the math there, different variations of shared between employer and employee, or not sure, or what's a health benefit. I'm just kidding. That wasn't an answer.
The benefit in quotation marks. Like I don't feel like
what is this?
One of the other things you shared there in that, probably no surprise to anyone, because I think we could all probably point to someone in our lives we know that stays in a job for the benefits, perceived benefits there. But you said it was a very sticky part as far as retention goes. People that have good benefits don't want to leave those behind, or it's been a reason for them to stay in a job potentially. Any more insight into that one?
Yes, I think it's interesting. We talked to a lot of HR leaders, and health benefits is a stress to them and their team.
Yes.
It's constantly going up. You're trying to balance a whole bunch of needs across your team, especially if you're hiring more remote employees and things like that. But then we talked to them, and they're also talking about a lot of other benefits that employees are looking for. There's retirement, and then there's new things with college reimbursement and pet care. And what was interesting, though, was really stripping it down in this data and the survey and just asking employees straight point blank, how important are health benefits when deciding whether to stay or leave a job? Nearly 55% said extremely important, and 40% said somewhat important. So if I'm doing my quick mental math, that's 95% still said extremely or somewhat important. Only 1 or 2% said not important at all. So health benefits, it's stressful for the team to take on, but it's still worthwhile. And I don't think that's a shock to anyone. We were a little surprised at the magnitude that 95% of employees still cite health benefits over all the other array of options as being primary for whether they decide to stay or take a job.
So we've done, when we do our candidate focused research, asking about what appeals to you about a job, what sort of things draw you or make you want to apply for a job. One of the things that the top things always is, right, the compensation with the benefits package. That set of things together is the top driver for people to consider a job. Mm-hmm. And in a time where it was like, oh no, all that matters is your culture and everything else. No, people still have to be able to eat and have to be able to make sure that they can fix little Timmy when he breaks his arm falling off the trampoline. Mm-hmm. Didn't use real names to protect the innocent, but we've been there. So
poor Timmy. Yeah.
Yes. So those things matter on the recruiting end. They matter on the retention end. And as you said, I know that everyone out there right now that's hearing us talk about these things, they're living out what you just said. Mm-hmm. We're doing our very best to pick a plan that works for as many of our people as it can, right? We're trying to juggle all the things. It's not easy to do, and trying to keep all that together is a big challenge. I still remember the very first time we added employees in a new state and did not realize that basically everything they were going to do was going to be out of network for a while as we were trying to transition everything. And it was a terrible time for all of them because every day someone had a complaint to me like, wow, our old one, at least they cared about us, at least they had good coverage, whatever else. We're trying here. We're trying to do our best. And that was a really tough time. And in that moment, I can't say for sure now at this point if we'd lost anybody in that, but I know that people were probably frustrated looking at who else was hiring because they knew that their insurance they just had on the previous company, their on site would have been able to meet their family's needs. So it was a stress point for us too, trying to figure out how to balance all that.
Makes sense. Well, I think you brought up something interesting, Ben. We're still big believers that culture matters.
Yes.
But as an HR leader, how do you describe the total comp? And okay, salary is easy, or wage or hourly rate. I think it's been a challenge for HR leaders to communicate the value of the health plan. And this is something where I think ICHRA can help. Because you're giving a defined contribution to it. So just like a 401k, you can say, all right, hey, here's your salary, and we're going to give you up to X $100 or X $1,000 towards your health benefits. And that's something that a recruit or an existing employee, when their performance review or annual comp discussion comes around, that's very easy for them to quantify and say, oh, okay, I'm getting my salary plus $800 towards my medical insurance. So we've been working with a lot of HR leaders that are using ICHRA. Okay, how do we work this into your recruiting and other documents? It's harder when it's like, hey, here's your salary, and we give the Blue Cross plan or the Cigna plan. It's harder for employees to appreciate the value of that, and it keeps going up and up and up. And you're like, they should be more appreciative, but
they should be very grateful. And
very grateful.
Goodness. I talked to a company recently that still pays 100% of premiums for employees and their families. And those companies are very rare, right? They're very rare. And they're like, please don't mention our name anymore because people like flood us with applications wanting that benefit because it's so expensive and so challenging. So, okay. So we talked about some of the benefits piece. We talked about some of the challenges on the employee side. One of the things that I saw in the research preview that I got, we'll make sure and share this research at the end of the session for all of you out there that want to see it and dive into it and see what's happening there. Maybe compare against some of your own
sentiment from your own employees potentially. One of the things I saw in there is around mental health benefits as a desire and some of the things around that. Would you talk about that piece? Because that was interesting to me.
Yeah, mental health is interesting. I think the toll benefits can take on people's mental health, but also mental health coverage. And again, I think it's very positive. There's been a lot of growth and awareness around mental health across all generations, but especially with younger ones too. And at the same time, you have this growing awareness and need for mental health, but you have insurance plans that are increasingly restricting it, or you're limited to so many sessions, or, okay, you can see a mental health provider, but the network list is very, very narrow, and you call in and it's 6 months to get an appointment. So we saw mental health as a huge issue for employees on their health insurance plan, almost up there with primary care doctor or kids pediatrician or wife's OB-GYN of, hey, I need my therapist in network. And an increasingly frustrating situation where even with very fancy group plans that cover 100%, even PPO style plans, it can be very hard to find mental health professionals in network. What's interesting, and again, how we talk about with ICHRA, the cool thing with ICHRA is employees can decide how they want to spend their money. They've got to buy a qualified health plan first, but if there's any premiums left over or they want to contribute in an HSA or under the tax-free umbrella, we actually encourage a lot of people now to talk to their therapists in cash pay. The reality is if you go once a week or once a month, depending on the therapist, it's anywhere from $80 to $150. You would only really need it on your insurance if you're going to bust your deductible or come close to your max out of pocket. If you're going once or twice a week, once or twice a month, you're just not going to hit that level. So being able for employers to say, hey, look, we provide this cash value as part of your ICHRA. Now employees can use that towards their mental health coverage or therapist, and they don't have to stress about finding it in network.
I think it's a great call out. I was going to say, that's a great
finding
call
some
out.
of the, oh yeah, well, let's keep going, but that was a big one.
Okay, I was going to say the piece there around that, we as a family had never had anything beyond just the normal pediatricians and all the other sorts of things. And when we adopted our daughter last year, we've gotten into needing therapy for speech and for or OT and for all these other sorts of things, and to help her out. And that exposed us to that whole world we've never touched before. And I was like, this is its own full-time job, trying to keep up with and manage that and figure out where's the best provider and who does this. And can they get us, as you said, like, sure, we can take care of her in 6 months. Like, well, that's not going to be
help.
So
Yeah,
was a new challenge for us as someone who used to run our health plan. And I was like, oh, wow, this gives me a whole new appreciation for people who have had to struggle with this, who I tried to feel their pain, couldn't feel their pain. And now on the other side of that, I'm like, wow, so much empathy for all of our employees who had to deal with that and try to fit it into what we were offering.
Oh, it's tough. And we, so similar, I have a son on the autism spectrum. So we know all about speech, ABA. Yep. And here I am, an insurance professional. The greatest thing I did mentally for my own mental health and my wife's was decide, hey, we're not going to try to fit this under insurance anymore. We were trying to work it into a group plan or individual plans, and you're just so limited in coverage and in providers. Being able to say, hey, you know what, let's find a way to put tax-free dollars, if that's under the ICHRA or an HSA, because then we can work with the providers that we've gotten to know over time and know our son and he works well. And we don't have to worry about filing things. And the irony is that therapists like that too. They don't want to have to file for insurance and get a lower reimbursement rate. They'd rather just take a cash payment. So that can feel very extreme or nerve-wracking to people, but it's a real strategy. And I think it will see, the survey did not go into this, but I think we'll see more people purchase health benefits outside of their insurance as things go forward. You think about therapy, GLP-1s are another great example. They're awesome. Everyone's getting skinny and healthy, but it's driving up healthcare costs. If you buy it through your health plan, it's several $100s, or you can get a Hims or Hers subscription and get it much more affordably. So I think we're going to things like direct primary care, telemedicine. We're just going to see things move outside of insurance. And again, as an HR leader, that's where being able to provide this defined contribution, reimbursement value becomes so powerful to employees, because that's tangible money they can see as part of their total comp, and they can go deploy it on exactly what they need.
Yes. And for that young couple with no kids yet, they don't have to spend it on all these other things. They get to spend it however it best meets their needs, right? So I love the flexibility of that. So I told everybody we're going to make sure we're going to drop the QR code here so you can scan that and go see the research. You can also reach out to the team, Take Command. What's the best way to do that, Jack?
TakeCommandHealth.com is our website. We got some contact forms. We love to connect with employers. We love HR professionals, and this survey is for everyone, meant to be. If you're curious about, hey, could a defined contribution work? We're not a pushy sales organization. We love to run the numbers and make sure this is a great fit for everybody.
Good stuff. Well, I've had so much fun diving into the research, as I knew that I would. Thank you for doing this research and shedding some light on how people feel about the benefits piece, because sometimes the thing that gets me is when we would ask these questions of our own people, we would get the version that they wanted us to hear. And in this case, these people had no incentive to answer a certain way or another. They just got to answer openly and honestly. And so I would compare that kind of stuff against how our own employees are talking about benefits. And that's what I mentioned earlier. So you can all check that research out. We'll pop the QR code here on screen so you can do it. Thank you again, Jack, for the time today, for coming back and joining us. I love talking, nerding out on the benefit stuff. It was not the thing I loved when I was an HR leader, but for these sorts of cases, like really treating your employees well, as you've talked about a couple of times, that's what I can get behind and how we can use these effectively. So to all of you out there, stay tuned for more Good Summer School coming right up.
Hold on a second. Bring us back full screen. We were tiny, Camaria. We were little bitty. All right. This is not George. This is Camaria. So I know everybody's a little bit confused there. She's wearing the correct shirt. So there we go. So Camaria, as I was listening to the conversation back with Jack, some things that I saw here in the chat from the audience reminded me of how much this connects to some of the other topics today. It was like a hardcore talk about benefits, and I saw a lot of conversation about how people were trying to address that. But then I saw people saying, like, we have to think about the mental health side of this. We have to think about the women's fertility benefits. We have to think about, right, Jack and I talked about our children who are autistic and their different needs. And so it like goes back to that human core of this is not just about the nuts and bolts of a benefits plan or whatever, but seeing the people, knowing your people, and connecting what matters to them.
Yeah, and realizing that work is life and life is work, right? We're not just sort of these machines that come to work. We're people who have these big, full lives, and the extension of that we bring to work with us. So caring for employees is not just like the meaningful work part, it's giving them the mechanism to care for their whole life. And I think that's the important part that we sometimes miss, but it's, we're trying to care for our whole lives. That's why we do it.
That was heavy. I'm trying to move past that. I was going to transition, and I couldn't think of anything good to piggyback off of that. So I have you here to do something we've never done with summer school before.
I know.
You know what that is. So for the audience out there, George or I are the ones who interview everyone for summer school. And I asked Camaria, I saw her just a few short weeks ago at an event. Her first question was, where's your son? Because he was more fun to me last time and he wasn't there. So she was a little disappointed it was just me. But we were talking about summer school coming up. And I said, would you be willing to be one of our guest interviewers, like be part of the community? Because she's someone that I know, love, and respect. And she, of course, said yes, which is why she's here. So we're going to have Allison come up, and y'all are going to talk about how people are more than robots.
Yes.
Which you sort of touched on just briefly there after that wrap. So I'm going to get out of the way, let Allison come in, and let y'all get going.
Yes, bring my new best friend in.
Hi.
Hello again.
Hi, everyone.
So I think it's so important to kind of share a little context that Ben put us together, and we had a little bit of time to kind of work on our conversation. And right away, we had so much in common. And I was like, oh, we're soul sisters.
Agreed.
We are the same person in different fonts. So I have enjoyed getting to know you so much in just a short amount of time. But for the watchers and viewers who don't know you, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Of course, yeah. So I'm Allison Smart. I am the director of HR for DocuMotion Research. And the simple way is we make the sticky receipt paper on your Starbucks cup. So anytime you go through a drive-through, you probably use my product, which is fantastic. But I always love meeting kindred spirits, people who are just on fire about the fact that fundamentally at the end of the day, we are humans, and we have to recognize and respect that every time we walk in the building and every time someone that we work with walks in the building. It is so important to be able to bring not only yourself, but every person around you to the building every single day. So we honestly were basically almost late to come back into the room this morning to join all of our fellow peers here because we were just jamming outside. We have a picnic table. We were going. I looked down and was like, oh, we have 1 minute to get back inside this building. We need to walk that direction. So it was delightful to just spend that time in the sun with you this morning.
Oh, yes.
And chatting about, beyond robots and how
That
we show
it's
up as human at
human.
work.
And you know what's so funny is I think what stood out to me from our conversation was where we started in that we first started talking about like, what is work to humans? Like, why do we work? I mean, I know that none of us, there's that saying where someone's like, what is your dream job? And there's that voice that sounds like Eartha Kitt that goes, I don't have a dream job. I don't dream of labor.
Yes.
Right. But like we come to work. And I think it's so important to just stop and talk about like, why do humans work? Why do we do this every day?
Agreed. You have to be wholeheartedly present for it. Someone said earlier today in the chat, it's not just about the physical human in a chair, right? It's about the actual heart of the work. And that's your engagement portion, right? The retention is the person physically sitting in the chair, but the engagement is someone who's actually understanding and bringing their heart, their mind to their work every day. And so it should feed part of your soul, but fundamentally, you and I talked about this morning, we got bills. You have a mortgage, you have rent payments, you have children, you have aging parents, you have a serious medical issue. You have things that you are required to have money to solve. And so how do you make sure that you are using the natural advantages and skills and enjoyment and joy of the people in your building to feed them and get the best from their brain every time that they are going to be partnering with you or partnering with another member of the team?
Yeah. And I think that pulls us back to even the session we just heard about benefits and maternal health and things we just talked about, is that people come to work because they have all of these obligations and all these people they want to care for, or they just want to self-actualize. I'm a nerd. I love my work. I love doing my work. Like you can find me with my sticky notes and things that I use,
Yes.
but it's for some of us, it fulfills us, and work has to be a combination of those things. We are finding though that, work used to be like a two-party situation. It used to be the employer and the employee. And now we have this like third entity. We've got AI, we've got bots, we've got more technology entering the workspace. And how do you think that's changing work for people and the relationship even between employers and employees?
Yeah. The employer-employee relationship or contract, whatever you want to say, we've all felt it's been some form of broken.
Yeah.
Right. We have not consistently shown up with the same formula at work that we historically have had access to. And so our productivity has made enormous strides over the last several decades, but the experience of work has not made that same exponential increase.
Yeah.
And the focus on continuing to bring in these supports and these tools to increase productivity has driven the experience of humans into being a 0 or a 1 in a spreadsheet.
Yes.
And they are not. Without people, without humans, you have no work. Work is fundamentally a product of a person. You bring in tools and chatbots and AI, and then you have to go back and spend just as much time editing that chat or that transcript.
Yes, you do.
That you could have just done the work yourself in the first place. So is there a real productivity gain? Or is there the illusion of productivity gain because you're using this tool and you can see the adoption rate, but you're creating more burden for yourself if you're using it correctly, I should say, to actually go back and edit what it's producing. They are fallible. They give us wrong information all the time.
Confidently so.
Confidently, they are sending wrong information out about the building. So are you inspecting what you have received? Are you ensuring that the product that it is producing is valid? and is appropriate for what you have asked it. It can only read or see the words that it's being given. It can't bring the emotional intelligence or connection or context or nuance from your hallway, from your office into its suggestions for you.
And I think that's what's so interesting about that is that everything that you talk about, the nuance, the detail, it's something that we bring as humans to the work. I mean, we just got to see George practically cry on the shoulder of Rod.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that like the bot, that no technology is going to take the place of the human to human interaction. No technology is going to replace the connection that we have with each other as we're working. And so it's very interesting to me when we start thinking about employees as purely output, like the entire value they bring to an organization is simply how much can you do for me today if I give you these tools? And are we missing that human beings actually bring more to the workplace than just the potential of their output?
Absolutely. The connection portion of this is critical. It's why people are going to have the argument about return to office until the sun dies. People want that connection, right? Yeah. And you can create connection in any space that you choose to do that. Just because you are physically located in the same building or the same room with someone doesn't automatically create it. It's a choice.
Yes.
But you have to intentionally and intelligently design for that choice. And that's not always happening in some of these tools, right? People want the fastest and the cleanest and the most exciting new age, blah, blah, whatever it is. And we have to show the reason why we're spending all this money on this. You and I traded comments about tokens earlier today.
We did.
What's the total spend here? But trying to figure out the best way to actually show the return on the value of people's presence can't be quantified in a way that I can show up to my meeting with finance tomorrow and say, hey, we generated an additional $15,000 in revenue by physically sitting in the same space as each other yesterday. That's a really tough conversation to have. What I can say is we have 82% of the team who's utilizing this new tool that we launched 3 months ago. And what instead that has caused is a 10% reduction in regrettable turnover on that team, right? That's an easier conversation to have. We love metrics, we love data, all hail Data King Ben. But trying to find the best way to intelligently share the critical component of human connection is our responsibility as leaders in the HR space.
I would so agree with that because I think we never bring that to the table. I think we try so hard to lean over to the business side and talk about the things that are going to catch their ear that perhaps sometimes we miss the qualitative experience of work, and that sometimes the retention is about the connection. I spend a ton of time talking with people leaders, and I know with the prevailing conversation is always, well, a bad manager will make, someone leave, but we never talk about what a good manager can do and who will stay and walk through fire for somebody, not only for their manager, but for their team, for the culture they believe in. And so there is real value to making a culture in a place where people want to be and they feel good about, and they do spring out of work every day and do want to occasionally come to the office and hang out with each other, and also balance the rest of their lives. There's value in that. And so what is our role as HR? Because I think right now, HR in general is going through a thing. And our work, our purpose is changing. So what is our role in keeping the human aspect in work in relation to all the technology changes that are happening?
We are the physical presence and reminder in every room that we walk into that humans are the critical component. And the other parts of the business don't always show up and understand our language. We always go the extra mile to speak theirs. And so finding the way to translate in the room with executives, department leaders, first-time managers, that the reason you have the authority and the responsibility of your role is because of the people who report to you, the people who partner with you, and creating shared language around the experience of the human in the room and why that cannot be replaced by AI. It cannot be replaced by a chatbot. Yes, are they helpful? Absolutely. But they are a tool.
Yes.
You have to use your brain and you have to speak to a person to fully understand the context and the nuance associated with the full output of what those tools can show to you. They are incredibly useful resources.
Yes.
But they are not the only resource that should be in the room, because they should not be making the decisions that humans should be making. We should still be in charge. I am not ready to defer to our robot overlords just yet. I wanted Rosie from the Jetsons. I didn't want robots to come in and start making all of my decisions in life. I want agency.
Yes.
I want the ability to show up and understand that my expertise and my opinion on this subject from 10 years in the people space will be heard and taken seriously and given a level of authenticity with my voice that cannot be found in an LLM.
Yes, because I want to go back to what you just said, because in the crux of, we're watching these graduations, right? Or watching young people graduating from college. We're watching CEOs stand on stage and talk about AI. We're watching them getting booed.
Yeah.
Right. And there's something in watching young people that are just getting ready to start the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then those of us who are practically grandmas who've been here forever, right? But we have the experience, the expertise, the nuance. I remember sort of being at a conference and somebody said, if you want to know the real answer to something, there is somebody down some hallway named Helen who knows when, why, what, knows all the information,
She has
all the
receipts. She has all of the context and the information.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, like, how do we continue to value the experience that humans have had to know the nuance and know the detail and to explain that that is different than, yes, like these large language models can hold lots of information and processes and they can automate things, but they don't have the richness of the detail and the experience to know why something is or is not the right answer.
Yeah.
How do we communicate that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just attended Leap HR Total Manufacturing a handful of weeks ago in Austin. This is my first time in a manufacturing industry position. So I love to surround myself with leaders who've been in this space longer than I have. And I can't tell you the number of times this exact topic came up in those 3 days when I was in Texas. And really trying to figure out what is the best way to download that institutional knowledge from someone's brain. Right? Because that is a critical piece of the puzzle in any war on talent environment, right? I think like we've been talking about the war on talent longer than I have been an adult. I graduated from high school almost right at the end of the peak of the housing crisis.
Okay.
And so I wasn't quite sort of emerging into the total terrible job market that was happening in 2008. But I got to watch a lot of my friends do that from older siblings. And I got to watch my parents suffer through that. And everything is going to change consistently. We should expect that. But how you respond to those changes and how you are equipped to deal with that change, right? Resourcefulness and adaptability becomes a critical piece of the puzzle. Do you sit paralyzed with fear, or do you find something that speaks to you and make a niche experience for yourself? And I think the opportunity for these future generations that are coming in the building is to find those mentors within the company. I'm not going to say elders. Find those people with the knowledge. Find the people who have that download of information, the people who have been here 15 years, 30 years in this space, and pick their brain, ask them questions, be curious. We don't show up with a level of curiosity anymore. Our society has been programmed for instant gratification.
Yes.
We want things immediately. We want things to be present and shown up for us all of the time. We want all of the details and information and questions laid out for us. The intellectual curiosity to show up and say, help me with this. I want to understand. To Ben's point earlier, seek to understand first to be understood, right? Creating the opportunity for yourself to understand those smaller nuances and carry forward that historical information. On the other side of it, the most expensive sentence in business is, but we've always done it this way. So you have to make sure that the information that's being carried forward still makes sense. And if you could teach it to a chat, you could teach it to your LLM, and it's going to continue to provide that information. But is it going to really inspect what's working in your business? Can it help refine what that knowledge actually continues to bring forward for your organization as well.
Yeah. And will it know all of the contextual information? I think about, when I was first joining an organization, just sage advice that people gave to me that came from their learned wisdom. There's something about humanness. And you and I talked about this when we were sitting outside, in that the experience of being, a working mother, or the experience of being a new grad, there's something about the human to human connection that it's more than just data. It's wisdom and judgment. And that comes from the human experience. And so it's so important to make sure that people keep having experiences and not just go to the bots and not just ask the questions. So what is the responsibility of HR to design? Because you use the word design, and it's a word that we don't always kind of lean into, but how do we design the right workforce or the right work experience that both lets us take advantage of technology and take advantage of automations and all the things it does for efficiency, but also designs it so that we're still critically thinking human beings who can share experiences with each other?
Have conversations. Right. You have to speak to people to understand what you're solving for to begin with. We've talked a lot about today. Do you actually know the problem you're solving for?
Yes.
And so creating the opportunity to sit down and have conversations across the entire scope of the company. It's not just the one corner of the business that you work the closest with, right? It's every department should have tools and resources and policies that work for them. It's not just the policy that works exclusively for the sales team and everybody else gets to deal with it. It has to work for everyone. It can't just work for us as HR leaders. It can't just work for the software engineers if you're in the tech industry. It can't just work for my operators who run our lines, who are responsible for making our product every single day. If they don't show up to work, can we run our lines efficiently? That's a formula. That number has to work. And so having the conversations to understand with each area of the business, what am I solving for your team? Because the answer to that question is not going to be the same for every corner of your business. And creating shared space for everyone across the business to learn from each department. Here's what's working well over here. Here's how we can gather some of the spirit of that and institute a couple different changes in this corner of the business as well.
Yeah. We've heard a few times people say, you have to know what good looks like. Ben knows that's one of my hallmarks, right? You have to tell people what good looks like so they can strive toward it. In your view, zone out 20 years. We can't go further than that because everything changes so fast.
Agreed.
What does good look like in terms of designing the working experience that's still gratifying for employees, that still helps them take care of their families, that still drives business forward? What's the right balance in your mind? What does good look like?
Put the dignity back into it. Put the dignity of work back at work. Work has to work for more than just the person whose title says CEO. Work has to work for every person who aspires to own a home. Work has to work for your renters, for your rental property that you own. Work has to work for your friend's little sister who was born when you were a freshman in high school and you have no idea what life is going to look like for her. Work has to work for the people who grew up with different circumstances or different advantages, who grew up in church, who grew up in synagogue, who grew up in different places. Work has to work for everyone. We have to have systems and policies in place that allow every single person to show up and feel like they belong, to Angela's point earlier today. We have to have work that works financially for the majority, not for the minority, right? It has to function as the ability that someone can go to work, contribute something excellent to their company, to society, and come home and not feel stressed about, can I put food on the table for my family?
Yes.
Do I have good healthcare for my child's needs, for my personal needs? can I take my dog to the vet today because they tried to eat a tennis ball and they ate half of it and now I need to figure that out.
Yep.
Work has to be able to have enough empathy and enough grace to understand that people are messy. It's how we're wired. We are designed that way to not be this sort of continual expectation of a consistent, like, autonomous experience, right?
Yes.
So creating an environment and designing policies and programs and systems that support the fact that not every person who works for you has the same life. They have different needs, they have different specialty areas, they have different life experiences that train the way that their brain talks to their mouth. And
It's right.
You have to expect that people are going to show up and be different at work every day. And you have to do your best to make sure that the work you are offering them works for as many people as possible. Otherwise, it becomes a system that is going to continue to see people opt out of it.
Yeah.
And we are going to continue to lose incredible talent by not inviting them in the door in the first place.
I love that. Do y'all love that? This is why we talked outside for so long. I mean, I'm tempted to not let Ben and George come back over here. We're just going to keep going. But you are such an amazing person. I'm so glad that Ben introduced us and that we had the opportunity. If people want to get to know you and become also your soul sister, how can they reach you?
Yeah, you can find me here in the Nashville metro area. You can also find me on LinkedIn under Allison Smart. Delighted to chat with everyone and ask me all the questions. I'm happy to have virtual coffee chats, in-person coffee chats. One of my very first interactions with George was sitting in a Starbucks together, and I like word vomited my whole life at him. And he gave me excellent counsel, and I was like, cool, this man and I are going to be friends. So if you too want that experience, call George, then call me. And call your friendly neighborhood HR representative. Find a way to connect that human space. But look forward to seeing you all online and maybe also in person.
Real quickly, Carmaria, if you don't mind, I want to ask a couple of questions. If you just scoot over, I'm gonna get in the middle here.
Okay,
because
do that.
I got a little jealous because as you mentioned, let's see if we can get us all in a shot. Scoot on over, Carmaria.
Scooch over.
Scoot on over. See how we're gonna do this. Oh, I don't know what I just hit. Then I hit a button.
George broke it.
I broke it.
Oh, George.
What I do? What do y'all see up there?
Oh, can you see
Okay.
us?
I see you.
Okay. I hit the wrong button. There we go.
Go team.
It was like last year it was Ben. I was like, oh no. And I don't know which one to start with. Paper, rock, scissors right now.
Okay.
All scissors. Did y'all see that? All right, so we'll move on. We'll just move on. Carmaria, last year I had an opportunity to speak with you.
You did.
This year you had an opportunity to speak with Allison, and I was coming to tell the story. Like we literally met and connected and got together at coffee, and you shared all your business and then some.
Listen, yes.
But I felt like that relationship and that connection mattered because from then we started talking about shoes, which is something that we're both passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to ask because I think it's important for people to know as the future work is human. We're talking about those things a lot, and there's a connection in that. But we all, and you said, you start talking about the journeys of people. Everybody's coming from different backgrounds and different positions, different family backgrounds. What does that look like in the workplace? Because I think there's a gap there, right? If for people who don't know me, wouldn't know that I was adopted by a white family at the age of 11. I went through identity crisis of looking Black, but signing my school stuff as a Black skin Caucasian because I was born Black, loved Mexican food, and I was adopted by a white family. But I was searching for identity most of my life. And it was a struggle. So what is it like when a leader is bringing in a George, a Carmaria, Allison? We have the same purpose in what we do, but we're coming from different areas. And that's a struggle for leaders to be able to deal with because you never know whose shoes, we can't walk in each other's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Carmaria, can you just 1 minute and then just literally a 60-second on walking in somebody else's shoes? But how do leaders bridge that gap of different, diverse lifestyles and individuals?
I mean, I think it's a combination of curiosity and choose your own adventure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think anything has to be one size fits all. I think you have structure and then you have choice. I always like to say core plus more. we know that there are certain things that have to be uniform across an organization. It can't be, 76 different flavors, but you can be curious about the makeup of your organization and ask them what their needs are, and then figure out how to give options to meet those needs. I mean, in the pandemic, we did this whole push around flexibility and when, where, and how you work, because we knew that people had different circumstances. And so we tried to make it work. Now we've since walked that back, but the idea was, we're going to give you the flexibility to do what's right for you within these parameters. So we may have core office hours that we need to be in together. And then you figure out what else works for you around that, right? So I think it is one, being curious about people and their needs, and coming out of your office and talking to people and asking them about that. You've never told me you were adopted. I did not know that. Shame on you for not sharing that. But anyways, so once you're curious about people, then you can start finding the solutions, and then let them have agency to make choice and what they need to do. It doesn't have to be one size fits all.
What about you, as you're doing the work right now? How do you bridge that gap of difference?
Yeah, I think the curiosity piece is probably the thing that I resonate with the most. Again, first job in a manufacturing industry, right? So I've spent my whole career in white collar industries. That doesn't change the fact that every day I start a new conversation with an employee. And it could be someone who's been in my office a million times in the year and some change that I've been in my role, or it could be someone who's never felt safe to leave the floor to come and talk to me. Right? Having the opportunity to just ask questions. Now, that person may choose to share or not. I obviously chose to share with George. Some people may feel that confidence and that trust and security in their own story to be able to share that information. Some people are testing first. They want to see, if they give you something small, what you do with it, right? That transparency piece that we talked about earlier about transparency is the price of trust, right? I will always choose to be transparent if I don't 100% know the answer to something. And I will say, let me work on that and I'll get back to you. And I always follow up with them regardless of what that is, right? Hey, checking in, I don't have an answer for you yet. Here's what I've discovered. Here is my promise in terms of how we can actually create a conversation around this moving forward, right? So finding that curiosity to open the line of communication and say, hey, I don't have that personal experience because I grew up in a different state than we're in right now, right? I grew up in Southern California. I grew up the child of older parents. I didn't find out until I was 29 that I was adopted. It's taken a lot of therapy, but having the openness and the willingness to share, you will only start receiving information back if you choose to be vulnerable first. And so as an HR leader, I will choose to be vulnerable with my staff. I will choose to be vulnerable with my leaders and say, hey, here's my personal experience. This is what shapes how I'm responding in this moment. You can choose whether or not to share if there's anything that's shaping your response to this right now as well. But this is how I'm showing up in this moment, and here's how I'm showing up, and here is what's causing me to show up in this manner. And I find that invites a lot of people to be able to share that information back with me so that I can have a realistic conversation to bridge that gap where I may not personally know what it felt like in that moment, but I can hear and I can understand, and I can find something in my own background that maybe had a similar track experience that shaped me in the same way, even if it wasn't the exact same circumstance that that person experienced.
You said something, and I want to close with this, because I think it's the heartbeat, as I talked about earlier today, in 2020, when we first started HR Summer School, and the connection that Ben and I made that March, when still to this day, I haven't been on his podcast, We're Only Human, but instead, no bitterness, but instead he allowed me to be one of the first speakers at HR Summer School, and then become a brother from a different mother and a different color. And I really only love him because his daughters and twins make fabulous snacks. Y'all need to get some of those snacks before y'all leave, by the way. But you talked about being vulnerable, and I'm gonna ask you, can you be vulnerable with me right now in the audience? Because just like Ben, just like Carl Maria, we create community around here for people. And you exemplify what it means to not necessarily be able to walk in people's shoes, but to show up as yourself. And so to keep this short and simple, Allison, I want to say congratulations to you for becoming 2026 HR Summer School Community Award winner. And
I'm excited. I wanted a pair of these shoes since 2020. Oh, I'm so happy. And my husband cannot have them, and he collects Nikes.
These shoes are so special that after I designed them, I looked at Ben and I said, we got to order us some too.
Yeah.
So this is the first pair of HR Summer School shoes that, they are a size 12, which is what I wear. So if I ever come back to Nashville and need a pair of shoes, we'll do that. But can you just real quickly give the audience what has HR Summer School meant to you since 2020?
Yeah. HR Summer School is one of those things that I plan my whole learning year around it. At the first week of June, this is what we do. We spend time together, we better ourselves, we better our community. And I thrive in spaces that allow you to be naturally curious, as long as they have other people who are going to share that curiosity with you, right? It is exhausting to be the only person in the room asking questions. And so to have a conversation with people who are bringing excellent takes and excellent context all the time is so enriching. And every year I walk away with a new human that I want to spend a ton of time with. So shout out, it's going to be you this year. I'm just saying. But it's allowed me to have enormous opportunities in my career because I've been allowed the privilege of spending time with people who are smarter than me and getting to benefit from their experience, from their wisdom. It's allowed me to deepen my connection and my friendship with you, with Ben. I've now gotten to do several really cool things because of this friendships as well. I've gotten to speak at a Disrupt HR event. Ben and I have recorded a session for an upcoming webinar. So it's just allowed me as a leader to really step into and own my expertise in a way that I'm usually not comfortable talking about. But it gives me continued confidence and hope in the future of my career and the future of the fact that HR is human. It's in our title. It's what we do. And as long as there are people, there will be a need for our role.
Awesome.
So thank you so much.
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I really didn't want to hang out with you. I was just trying to get some our 2025 and our 2026 HR Summer School Community Award winners. It's great to have y'all both in person. But the principal's kicking us out. So you got to take your cheer that away. And you take your shoes that away. And we'll continue after this. Awesome. Allison's going to have to go back and look at all the comments. Thank y'all so much, all the support, all the beautiful things that's going on. Principal Ben forgot his luggage there, but we are going to be coming up on some of our exciting things. Oh, he's brought my laptop back because I forgot my luggage that he was carrying around. So okay. we help each other out. Look at that support, showing up to show out. I threw you over the bus. I would never throw you under.
Okay. I don't know what to say to that. It's your job to make me as speechless as many times as you can.
Dan and Shay.
Okay.
Speechless.
Okay. You want to get our announcements and things queued up? I know several people are probably going to have to drop off shortly. So let's announce some winners real quick. We got those up, queued up, ready to go. Oh, how about I put those on the screen? Partnership, teamwork, dreamwork, all those things.
So we got to go.
All right. Tomorrow. So really quickly, I didn't realize this. When you started off today's session with Rod and I heard about that relationship and how much it meant to you, I had no clue that the first session tomorrow was the person who did that for me.
Wow.
So tomorrow, the first session, Christine was the person who took a chance on me when I got into HR all those years ago. And so I asked her if she'd come back and do a session with me, and she was gracious enough to say yes. So we'll do our first session tomorrow with Christine. We have Ken from Hi Bob. We are like data bros. We love talking about all the numbers and everything else and how we can use those things for better. Abit, it's with you. You're gonna have some fun conversation there. So great sessions tomorrow. Lots more inspiration, more encouragement, more insight into how we can do this work well. I love the sessions like we get from Angela. One of our attendees had to leave. She said, she better be back. Like she warned me that Angela better be coming back. But we also have some really hardcore, fundamental nuts and bolts sessions around the core things HR has to do, right? Lance and I talked about hiring. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about some other things on the hiring front. We're talking about how we can think about AI in a way that's very practical and useful for us, and not in a way that it's up on a pedestal and humans are down here. Yeah. Having to build the right skills. So good sessions tomorrow and on Thursday. Don't you wait. So George and I speak occasionally, apparently. We do this.
We do this.
George and I love to speak. If you can tell, we have a lot of energy, and we've done it on HR stages. We've done it for other events or business events, internal events. We love doing that kind of thing. If you're doing some planning around that, or you know someone who is, I saw someone who is part of an HR, a local HR chapter or a state group earlier, was chatting in the comments. Like, those leaders, that's what we do. And we love supporting and serving anyone in that audience, as you can tell. Giveaways. So if your name's on this list, George made the list. So there we go. I got you back. We have
I'm not
some winners
scared.
here.
They're virtual. I'm only worried about the people that is in front of me right now. But y'all have shirts.
Everybody in person gets a shirt, gets a book. They're getting some good stuff. So there's that. So if you are listed here, take a screenshot if you need to remember it. Just email Jill and we'll circle back with you. We have a bunch of different things to give away this year. And tomorrow we'll actually have those on hand to show you because we'll not be remote running that one. So tomorrow we'll get those out. So congratulations for winning. If you're not on this list and you're like, I was active today, show up tomorrow. You get a chance again. We're going to be giving away dozens and dozens of things this week. And it's our way of saying thank you for hanging out with us.
With that said, my friend, thank you. I'm gonna miss you. This is gonna be, usually I go back to Huntsville and we go live in the office at your house. But life be life, and just like HR, you have to adapt. And so I got to go back to Indianapolis. We got people. I want to shout out just real quickly a few people. We got people from Atlanta. Where is everybody? Shout out where you're from. I know we got some Nashville. We got Atlanta, Clarksville. We got Carmen all the way from Orlando, Florida. We got Wisconsin in the house, representing the state of. We got San Antonio, Texas in the house. And so shout out to all the people that are here in person. And of course, our local Nashville people. I also want to shout out Alexis. I changed my shirt for Coffee Bros. If you're in the Nashville area, go up to Springfield. Alexis provided us with some drinks, some small sliders and things of that nature. Her and her team, she does incredible work with the community there, schools there. Also, Nashville Tech Commons for allowing us to use this facility. Esther Recycling Solution, Rock McDaniel taking care of that and putting us in this beautiful facility. Maybe tomorrow we can talk about where we should go next year. Maybe earlier,
audience, maybe
bigger. Put it in the chat if you're still with us. Put it in the chat where you think we should show up next year. We'll start it today. Maybe we'll do a poll tomorrow. But 2027, I'm already thinking about it. 2027, Chicago, Texas.
I can't think about it until we are starting day 3. We got to be at least 2/3 of the way through this.
A cruise ship.
Oh my
I
word.
do jump.
There's a lot of places we could be.
Here we go.
But wherever we go, we will be with friends. We'll be with a community that cares about doing right by the people, and we'll be with people that are thinking about the future of work being a very human one. So we're grateful for all of you for spending time with us today. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you so much.
3, 2.
We want to thank all of you so much for joining us on the live stream.
For more information, make sure you visit. That was really good. Here we go. For more information, 3, 2. And for more information, make sure you visit our website at lhra.io.
Okay, and just for editor purpose, can we just try the whole thing? Thanks for joining, and for more information, go ahead. I'm rolling. You're ready.
Thank you so much for joining us for our live stream today.
And for more information, make sure you join lhra.io for more information. For more information. Here, last try. We got it now. I'm getting hungry. Can you tell?
Do you want to start this one off?
No, because it's you want to do the for more information part?
I will sure do that.
All right, here we go. 3, 2. Thank you for joining this live stream.
We appreciate all.
Ooh.
This is when Lucas is like, I just want to leave here.
Oh, you make me sweat.
If his stuff wasn't set up, he'd just walk out.
All right, here we go. We want to thank everybody for joining us today on this live stream.
For more information, you can find our website at lhra.io.
Nice.